right, lads. Welcome to the Thursday night show. Pull up a chair. You're all welcome here. And I don't think we'll have a show on Sunday. The interest in Arsenal seems to die away for the Interlull. And we'll get back on it for next Thursday. We'll be previewing the North London derby. And we'll see what kind of midfield we can cobble together then for that game in preparation for the following weekend. So, with that being said, I welcome in Stan and Lawrence tonight. Stan, how are you doing?
Yeah, not bad. Bit of a dodgy back, as usual, but other than that, not bad. Weather's nice here today.
All right, so the best recommendation is to sit very, very still during the podcast for the next 2 hours for your back.
Yeah, it's getting up afterwards that's the problem.
That's true. That is true. We'll see who comes into the house tonight. BX Gunners here. Good evening, greetings, everyone. And Gary is on airport duty. He's away, I think, for the weekend. So I'll do something similar on Sunday. There will be no show on Sunday. And so soak it all up tonight and come back for the next Thursday night forum where, again, repeating myself, we'll be previewing the massive North London derby. So, Lawrence, how you been?
I was going to say, in the words of Chris Jericho, drink it in, man.
Soak it all in. Soak it all. Yeah. We will be part of the Interlull for this weekend. How you doing, Lawrence?
Yeah, a bit like Stan, going to the doctors and the hospital this week on appointments. So, not in the best shape of health.
We're like Arsenal. We're like Arsenal 6 or 7 years ago. The older, experienced players who know what they're doing, but maybe we're in it for the last contract. Right, Stan?
Yeah, always on the treatment table.
The boys on the treatment table, exactly. Yeah. So Stephen's in the house as well. Thanks for joining us, Stephen, as always. Yeah, we'll have a bit of fun tonight. And I assure you, the caption at the bottom is not a Norwegian or Scandinavian band. It is not AHA, but that is Arsenal's eight games in the Champions League coming up. We play away the first game, then we got 2 home games, 2 away games, 2 home games, and we finish with an away game. So we'll be going through the cup competitions because, we've only had 3 games so far in the league, Stan. What is there to say? I mean, we can talk about the 3 games we had very briefly, but what else is there to say?
Well, one thing that I was hearing that there was a problem with Martin Odegaard, even though he has travelled to Norway, but there was a slight injury worry there. And obviously, again, we've got Thomas Partey, who, he very rarely comes back in one piece, does he? So it's always that can always be a concern as well. And and you got to think that the next actual league game, that's probably one of rivalry-wise, it's the big one. It's the North London derby, right? And you don't have a Declan Rice, so we can't always depend on the same players or regular players. It's supposed to be a squad, Okay, we're going to have Declan Rice missing, but we should still have enough as a team to get past Tottenham. Because in the last season, we schooled them. We weren't even close, to be fair. Do you know what I mean? In my eyes, with the match up.
Despite the scoreline, Stan. No, despite the scoreline, it wasn't even close. You're right.
I don't think so. We're smoother streets ahead. So we have to show that we don't, if we got a player as important as Declan Rice, that we can still get results. A little bit like Man City when they were without Rodri. Still managed to carve out some results, right? Yeah.
Man City have, I don't think Rodri's played a game for Man City so far. Foden is another one. That just leads into some Arsenal fans after 3 games have thrown in the towel altogether. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, well, that's it, Stan. It's all over. Man City are going to walk this thing.
Well, I don't think we're going to win the league this season. So I don't know if that's called throwing in the towel. That's my opinion at the moment. And I only say that because I'm a very big stickler that if you're going to get rid of squad players, then they need to be replaced. Especially if, when they were part of the squad, management was telling us that, well, we've got quite a small squad, but it's even smaller now.
Yeah.
You know, if you sell 3 and buy 1, you know, you don't have to be the greatest mathematician to see that those numbers don't work.
Yeah, that's not good. Even with the promotion of Ethan Waneri to the first team, but we want to, like you said, Stan, we're going to get tested now, and a little bit of a preview, I suppose. North London Derby, we'll know more next Thursday, but we're going to get tested. Our midfield is going to get tested in selection, and like you said, it's a squad game now. We've reduced the size of the squad. I think Mikel Arteta and Edu have always said that the squad has been oversized in some way. So we have reduced our squad down to clearly 6 attacking players now. There's 2 for every position on every part of the field, I believe.
But when fit, that's the thing. When fit, thinking that everybody's healthy and ready to go.
Yeah. And you mentioned Martin Odegaard. I'm thinking he missed quite a few chances last season, and he already had a couple of chances in each of the last 2 games. He could have scored against Brighton in the first half, and he could have scored against Aston Villa when we were 2-0 up and bossing that game. So
he got injured in that Brighton game. You could see that he was off the pace once he got that kick. That accident. He wasn't able to lead the press like he usually does. It affected his game. So I don't know what the injury is or the extent of it. But he's gone away with Norway.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's just gone. You would think that if he was unfit, that he'd rather be at Arsenal treatment.
Yeah.
So maybe he's going to be fit enough to play the second game for Norway.
And look, I know people say sometimes that they should block the international break, and BX, we agree with you, but the national setups, they want to actually take a look at his injury as well and document his injury history as well. I mean, they could take all of the advice from Arsenal, the Norwegian national team could, but they want to assess him as well, so they know through the course of the campaign, because they're going to try to qualify for a World Cup as well. They want to know Odegaard's medical history as well. So, but there is quite a few other players that have not gone for England as well. The Man City crew. There's a few players that are not. You just know Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka are going to play for England, right?
Yeah. Especially with a new manager in Lee Carsley, he's going to want to have as many of his shiniest toys, right?
Take a look at them. Yeah,
these aren't friendlies either, are they?
Well, they're the next thing up from a friendly Nation League game.
Yeah,
right?
it's got a name to it, right? So
yeah, it's basically a friendly.
Competitive.
And if they keep calling off, if the English players keep calling off, Ireland's got a chance in this game. I'm just going to put that out there. If you bring an England B team, the best Irish side might actually beat them. Stephen said after his injury last weekend that left him hobbled for the rest of the match. When the F and hell is Odegaard doing? What is he doing on international duty? Don't be surprised if he comes back unfit. So Stephen, he is after all the captain of his national side. So he's got to turn up, even if he doesn't play. He's got to turn up and be part of the meetings, part of the evolution of the national side as well. Nick Fadley's in the house as well. Big up, Nick. Big up yourself. And BX said, why have him travel? Why can't they send him out? Well, the medical team's at the game wherever Norway are playing. You know what I mean? So, one other thing I wanted to tie up was Raheem Sterling coming to Arsenal. I know we talked about it already, but it was a difficult position to cover. I mean, Arsenal fans wanted that cover for Bukayo Saka. What do you get? Do you get a real superstar like a Rafinha, who was mooted to come to Arsenal, but wanted to be guaranteed playing time? Well, that wouldn't have fit in with Bukayo Saka and the minutes he's going to play. Or do you get a real youngster who's maybe not of the status that can take those minutes away from Bukayo Saka? I think we struck a very nice balance with. I've sort of come around to this Raheem Sterling thing, particularly since Chelsea have given us 10 million to have him on our books.
Yeah, I have as well. I mean, we're not anchored to him with an obligation to do anything. He's we're paying a fraction of what his wage is. It doesn't mean that he's upset in the dressing room in that manner, because he's not the highest paid or anything like that, or near to it from our pocket. And we've not even paid a fee for the loan. And he's a player that can play in 3 positions across the front.
Yep.
Maybe 4 if you even include like an attacking midfielder position, but that's sort of false 9 in that sort of area. And he's got a point to prove. Yeah. I think he's the sort of person that has a bit of an ego about him, which I mean that in the nicest way. You know, he's not. He's going to have a point to prove. He probably in his eyes, he probably feels that he was slighted in public by Chelsea, the way that it happened, having his number snatched off of him. And now he's probably thinking that he wants to like show them what they're missing, what they could have had. You know, it's a bit like Bullseye. Let's have a look what you could have won. They can reel out the boat, even though you live in a housing estate, nowhere near any water. Oh shit, on a boat. But yeah, he's got a point to prove, and he also has a very good relationship with the manager. The manager knows what he's getting. You know, they talk fondly of each other, and his influence in the dressing room, I think, is going to be good. You know, he's going to know some of the players through England as well. You know, and he's going to be a good, I think, a good addition. I wasn't overwhelmed when I first heard about it. But really, we're going, you know, because you know it can be like you want something a bit different, don't you? We're like, oh, you know, he's fallen off a bit of a cliff, but so did Kai Havertz, and he's managed to revitalise his career at Arsenal. And I also think as well that players can look shit in one team, but look good in another if they've got the right players around them and playing in a system that suits them.
Yeah,
you know, and
that's it. That's it exactly.
I think Sterling could thrive in our system. And again, like Martinelli, he likes Martinelli because he plays wide and gives us and is able to stretch open the pitch a bit more and give us space. And I think Sterling can do that as well as coming inside. He can stay wide and open up a lot more space. So, you know, he could be the guy, you know, the pre-assist guy, if you like, the guy before the assist, by opening up the field and making a burst of space that gives other people now areas to operate in. So I'm interested to see how it goes, and I do feel a lot better about it now than I did initially. However, overall, I still think that we're short as a squad.
The number 9, that's what we needed. We needed the number 9 this summer as well. And look, I'm gonna join the camp.
I think we're missing options in midfield as well. We're missing more options in midfield. I think we don't have enough depth.
Yeah, it's not like I'm not saying you've thrown in the towel, Stan. You're not one of those who said, "Oh, that's it now. Man City are going to win." Arsenal's movement this summer has caused you to have some caution about what we're going to do this summer because of the players we didn't bring in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very much so. I just feel that we are, you know. If you could wave a magic wand and keep everybody fit to the end of the season, great. But we know that that's not going to happen. Yeah. And if we get problems in the midfield, we could really be having to sort of like break an emergency glass to get something out to help us. And I don't know who that is. So that's where I'm concerned. I think we're good in the back. I think we can handle injuries at the back. I think we're fully covered there. And to an extent in the attacking areas as well, but the midfield for me, I feel is is not quite there yet, especially if Odegaard's out for an extended period of time. You know, you can't put someone in like Enweri for 2 months, because at his age he will have inconsistent performances, and I'm worried that when those inconsistent performances happen, he'll be slaughtered. He'll be slaughtered in social media for it, and that ain't going to do his confidence any good. He's a sort of player that you ease in and out sparingly in his first season, right?
Yeah.
So
listen, the comments you made about Raheem Sterling as well. If I was to think of stylistically the player who could come in for Bukayo Saka, and two players are not going to be exactly alike, but make it look like it's going to be the same player that's there. Sterling could be one of those players. Bukayo Saka comes off after 75, 80 minutes. Sterling's going to get 20 minutes. He could look almost like stylistically and the way we play, like you said, fitting into the system. Raheem Sterling could come in and grab those 20 minutes and give just as much on the right-hand side as Saka had for 70, 75 minutes. And as go ahead, Stan. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I mean, apparently, you know, I think it was Edu, maybe Arteta, they had conversations with Ivan Toney. And for whatever reason, they didn't think he'd be a good fit in the dressing room.
Yep.
You know? I don't know what he said in that meeting. He talked himself out of it or whatever, but, you know, this is a different case. You know?
The interview was going great, and then he said one thing. I was like, and they were like, I don't like this guy. It's all about the wages, maybe, for Ivan Toney, the status that he was at.
How many breaks do we get a day?
Yeah. I mean, 10-minute breaks.
I get paid for my sick days.
And I can leave 2 minutes before my break starts, and I can come back 5 minutes later. There you go.
Listen. I know we're supposed to clock off at 5, but my bus actually arrives at 10:02. So you know what I mean.
I'll see you. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. You know what I mean. I'll be back. Yeah. Yeah, and the thing about Odegaard as well, we'll have to watch him this weekend. Hopefully he doesn't play. He should be just assessed and given treatment. And that's actually the thing as well. I mean, I know Arsenal will continue the treatment if he's in London, but his national team can give him treatment as well. And he can be right and ready for next Saturday as well. Because as you rightly said, Stan, we don't know what our midfield is going to look like. Mikel Merino out, Declan Rice out. Odegaard would be the one remaining member of the midfield. That's
Thomas Partey and Jorginho.
Thomas Partey and Jorginho, and I would go double.
That's it, isn't it? Well. There is no one else.
Well,
Enweri, I don't know what his.
I have one hot take from the summer. Remember that Zinchenko will start in midfield for some games.
He's not allowed. Apparently, he's not allowed, is he? It's never happened. Apparently, he's not allowed.
Well, you know, we used to all sing that Gold song, right? Spandau Ballet Gold. Don't hear that anymore about Zinchenko, you know. But there you go. Lawrence, you've been listening to us for a little bit, and you've digested what we've been saying.
I was going to say he's digested his bacon.
What have you got to say about what we've been saying about Arsenal, the league campaign so far? Raheem Sterling, anything you want to talk about, Lawrence?
I don't like these international.
That old Tabasco sauce is repeating itself.
The international breaks. You don't like the international breaks.
Yeah. I mean, why would the league has only been stuck playing for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And now we've got an international.
Oh, Tony hates them too.
An international break.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ludicrous, So now we've got to pray that all our international players don't get injured. I'm not sure whether Odegaard is going to get game time or what. If he's got a knock, why he's gone with the Norway team, I've got no idea.
Yeah.
But
the national teams have the power. They can call up the
yeah,
players. He is the captain. He is the skipper of the Norwegian team. So there's a responsibility there as well. And he has probably teammates there in the international setup as well. What or else, like there's no one in the corridors except Win. Hang out with Win. You could do that for a week or so, right? Brownie said, to be honest, you wouldn't believe the difference between both the international and club medical teams. It wasn't until Bournemouth played David Brooks reported on Wales duty that they realized that he had cancer. Jeez. Bringing me right down there, Brownie. Bringing me right down. Bringing the mood down. Arsenal seem to be save your career FC. That's in terms of Raheem Sterling. But I will say one thing, following on from what Stan had said. I have a high certainty that Mikel Arteta, having worked with Sterling before, will revive Sterling's numbers to be better than they were at Chelsea last season. I know it's not a big ask, but he will be able to rehabilitate Sterling. And coming to Arsenal, I saw a little clip of him, Lawrence. I saw a little clip of Sterling in training, and the guy, I think my timeline said, Sterling already looks happy, much, much happier than he was at Chelsea. He's like
it wasn't wanted at Chelsea. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Go and play on your own, and before you leave, we'll take your shirt number.
Just go over in that corner there, Raheem. Face the wall. Play with your Lego or something. You know what I mean?
Every time he sees the manager, every time he bumps into the manager on his way to lunch or something, the manager's like, "Are you still fucking here?" I mean,
so like you said, Stan, it made a lot of sense. He'd worked with Arteta before. Arteta had talked about him as being one of the players he improved, and they've come back together. Obviously, when you're not wanted at Chelsea, it makes it a lot easier to move, right?
Yeah. What I like is he's got a point to prove.
Yeah. So when they play Chelsea, I want to see him involved.
Same like Trossard, same like Havertz.
Yeah.
Same kind of worked out, right?
Play against Chelsea. He can't. It's on loan to us. He can't play against Chelsea.
Well,
but not necessarily even against Chelsea, but just generally his performances.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's like, this is what you could have had. This is what you banished to play on its own. Do you know what I mean? This is, it could really make him look foolish.
There probably is a stipulation in the contract that he cannot play against Chelsea in the league. But there you go.
Sterling's probably the first guy to turn up and the last guy to leave. He doesn't want to miss a trick because he must be well vexed.
Gets in, he puts the kettle on. Yeah,
I would
turns the lights on. Yep. BX said he's putting his money on a cup run. Cannot see us derailing City for the league. Look, City in August and September, they looked like an animal. They've always looked good. They always start out of the blocks pretty well. But then October, November, December, they seem to slow a little bit, and then they're really good in the new year. So we'll see what happens.
I don't want to sound like a doom and gloom merchant,
but
there is a possibility.
But I'm gonna anyway.
But there is a possibility that the next 2 weeks we could be 9 points behind City and Liverpool.
Yes. If you lose your games, that's a possibility. It's a strong possibility. If you lose and other teams win, that's how you get 9 points behind, right?
Basically.
Actually, it's probably going to be 8 points.
Not wanting to
Lawrence.
get too technical about it.
We're 2 points off them right now. But, if we lose to Tottenham and we lose to City and they win, it'll be an 8-point gap. But I remember Stan saying last season and season before, what do we not want to do, Stan? Put a run of bad fixtures, bad results together. We can't do that.
Problem. We had that problem for a while. We seem to have gotten over that problem. We seem to have, what is that made up word? Really good bounce back ability.
Yeah. Is it in the dictionary? I don't know.
I don't know. I can't remember who was it as a football pundit that made that word up, and it stuck. And now everyone uses it. Might have been Terry Venables. Yeah. But
sounds like
we seem to. But again, it's just I'm worried about the depth of the squad, man. I'm still worried about our midfield.
Yeah.
Right, because Thomas Partey seems to be playing in fits and bursts for me. He has some good moments in the game, and you're like, oh yeah, man, this is the Thomas Partey I remember, the one that we bagged for 50 million in the middle of the night. You know what I mean, Atletico woke up in the morning and went, "Where's Thomas?" And he was at Arsenal. Yeah. It's all done in the middle of the night. And there's other times I watch him play, and I'm just like, oh my god, listen, what we're going to do with this guy is his legs are gone. He's fucked.
Yeah. And
then of course we've got Jorginho, who the fan base tells me can't play more than one game a week. That's what the fan base will say. He can't play more than one game a week. So where does that leave us? If we have, injuries to long-term injuries or whatever to Rice or Odegaard, and we've got obviously there's Enweri, but he can't do everything. He's a young kid.
Enweri, yeah.
Marino is not even available.
Zinchenko, Timber. Then you got
Zinchenko's not allowed to play. Look, come on, look. It's not my rule, but apparently Zinchenko is not allowed to play in the midfield for Arsenal. He's not allowed. I don't know why.
So
made that rule.
Stan, Zinchenko is like Granit Xhaka now, right? He's that, he's
Granit Xhaka is on the list of the Ballon d'Or players. Did you see that?
Yeah. Well, he did have that season.
Wow, man.
Yeah. Is the Ballon d'Or just do you just get rated on one season for the Ballon d'Or?
It is for a period. It is for a period of time. It's not a season. It's like a calendar year or something like that. It's
rolling
not, you know
2 years, or
it's a weird period of time. It's not just a season.
So let's look at Granit Xhaka, right? He had a very, very good season for Arsenal. We almost won the league. He leaves.
I think it's after that. I don't think they're going back that far.
Well, he only had the one season with Bayer Leverkusen, just one season.
Maybe it's a calendar year then. It's been 2 seasons that we've been without him, right? We've had 2 seasons now without him. We didn't have him last season. We didn't have him.
Declan Rice replaced him last season.
Yeah, it's 2
that was
seasons.
Wow, you're counting these 3 games as the second season.
We finished twice, right? He finished twice, and in both those seasons, he wasn't there, was he? He was there. He was there.
Finished second twice. The first time it was with him. Second time was with Rice.
Right.
So but Granit Xhaka, unbeaten as well. Stephen's asking, can Sterling track back as well as attack for 90 minutes like our current players? I remember when Ox went to Liverpool, it was a month before they considered him fit to play. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to start games immediately, Stephen. I think he'll find his way onto the bench and then he'll get 20 minutes as well. The way Tony treated Brentford and their fans after them reviving his career was an absolute disgrace, and I don't blame any club keeping well away from him. So he does carry baggage as well. Timber there.
I have a thing that I'd like to pose. It was something that I heard Harry earlier on the Chronicles of Laguna do.
Yeah.
And that's something that I thought would be a bit of fun that we could do here and include everybody in the chat box. So on the Ballon d'Or list, which I'm sure everybody's seen by now, there are 4 Arsenal players, which I think is a great achievement to show where we're heading. It's been a while since we've had anything like that, right?
Yeah.
Recognition. I don't think any of the players are going to win it, because I do think there are other players on that list that are probably ahead. What I'd like to do is, let's say the Ballon d'Or was only out of the 4 players from Arsenal. Right?
There's only our players.
Yeah. So the Ballon d'Or, for this year is only the 4 players. Which one would you give it to? So you have to give the Ballon d'Or to one of the Arsenal players. So it's Saka, Declan Rice, William Saliba, and Martin Odegaard.
Okay.
Are the 4 players So if you had to give the Ballon d'Or, discounting everyone else, but just those four, if you had to give it to one of the four players from Arsenal, which one do you think would be the Ballon d'Or winner? And let us know in the chat box as well. BX Gun is already in there. He's saying
Right.
Saliba.
Lawrence, you want to go first?
Gary saying Saka.
On what?
What I just painstakingly explained.
You got to listen in if you want to be on the panel. Ballon d'Or, Arsenal have 4 representatives. Try to pay attention now. Come on, Bond.
Come on, keep up, man.
I
like
think
James Bond in the movies.
I think it's just a waste of time because it's going to go to a Real Madrid player.
Yeah, but
okay. That's not the question.
That's not the question.
Lawrence.
If we had to choose from the 4 players from Arsenal, forget everyone else.
So
which one would you give it to?
Okay. Saka. I'd give it to Saka.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna go opposite, right? There's a couple of players I will cast off. Odegaard would be the first one. First one I would cast off of those 4. He would be my 4th choice in that group because he's not been consistent enough. Some of that is due to maybe having the cover for Kai Havertz. Declan Rice is not yet the all-rounded midfielder that we would like to see. He's a very, very good midfielder, but he's not a Ballon d'Or level player yet, in my opinion. Not a winning one anyway. But Kai Saka is a match winner, and he turns up in most games. You can count on him to assist you in almost every game, have some sort of goal contribution. But I'm going to go with William Saliba because he might have a couple of shaky moments in a game here and there, but he's so consistent and was part of that team that conceded the least amount of goals last season. And he is going to be part of big things for Arsenal in the future. William Saliba for me.
Well, I'll go with Saka. And as Gary says, and what you said, he's our match winner. And I think that's a really important player to have, who can be a moment player, who can get the first goal to start everything off, or can even come in right at the end of the 93rd minute, give you something to win the game. So it's very close for me between Saka and Saliba.
Yeah, I
agree with you that I would omit Odegaard and jettison Odegaard and Declan Rice first.
With all due respect.
And then for me, but it's basically a cigarette paper that I've got between Saliba and Saka. The gap is that thin. You can basically fit a cigarette paper between.
I mean,
but I think,
they're both.
That's
they're both superstars, right? Go.
Yeah.
They're both superstars in their area of the field, right? But Kai Saka.
There's also an argument that if Saliba's made his way onto that list, there's a lot of people that feel that Gabriel Megalegs is slightly better.
Well, yeah. Here's one thing I would tell you as well. And this is going to enforce my argument. But Kai Saka is not the best player in his position in the Premier League. Probably not, right?
No. Probably the second.
William Saliba potentially could be the best player in the Premier League in his position.
Yes.
Arguably.
Yeah.
But how often does a defender get the award?
Oh, stop pouring cold water on my pick.
I'm just being practical, right?
I know. But podcasts are not, Lawrence. Podcasts are not always about practicality. You're allowed to stray from the lines a little bit. The ball. If the circumference of the ball doesn't touch the line, it's okay. You can go outside the lines a little bit, Lawrence. Forget about players being injured. Someone pat Lawrence on the back. You're still with us, Lawrence. Gary said injured captain is an injured player. He's taking a spot from a healthy player. If injured, led his recovery with the club. Oh, Gary, if you were here now, I could argue with you now. So you're saying a team can survive without its most influential players in the dressing room. Yeah, we could have that discussion, Gary. Lawrence, this actual international break is a blessing, as we have several players with knocks already. That includes Mourinho with his long-term injury. Lawrence is working through a short-term injury as well. He'll be back fighting fit next weekend as well. Morning, lads. Tiger and Gooner's here in the house. Thanks for joining us as always. Did Partey go to play for his country? Yes, he did. If so, I'm holding my breath, like all of us, Stephen, on that one, as we have no cover for him to play every game. Jorginho can't do it. It used to be in the last season or two, we could let Thomas Partey go on international duty, and we had the cover. We didn't really worry about it too much. But Thomas Partey is like a heartbeat away from the position, right? Or an injury away from the position. And with Marino out and Declan Rice out, Partey would be deemed the next man up alongside Jorginho. I have a new person new person in the chat here. Mihaly Gulias, I hope I pronounced that probably correctly. As a Hungarian Arsenal fan, just put Zabazai near Odegaard and we win the league. Yeah, or just put Haaland near Odegaard and we win the league as well. Zabazai is a good player. I'm not entirely convinced about him either. He had a good start to the season for Liverpool last season and tailed off a little bit. But definitely one of the best Hungarian players in recent years. Retro Rewind TV, anything more than 6 to 9 points behind at Christmas, then let this team cook in the Champions League instead. Be good to win that. Real Madrid won. Can already see Vinny and Kylian Mbappe don't like each other. Vinny and Kylian don't like each other.
Well, he's had a very slow start, hasn't he, Mbappe? I don't think he's scored.
He got a couple at the weekend.
Oh, did he? That's his first ones then, okay.
Probably his first ones. I would say, Retro Rewind, you don't have to love your teammates to be successful.
He's not getting on with Vinny, is that what's happening?
That's what he's saying. He can see Vinny and Kylian don't really like each other. It could be a little bit like Vinny could feel like it's his club, you know what I mean? And Mbappe, big boots Mbappe coming in, you know what I mean?
I would say out of all of the players that are nominated for the Ballon d'Or, I think it's going to be out of Rodri and Vinny.
Vinny will get it, right?
I'd give it to Vinny. That's all right. Maybe I'm biased because Rodri plays for City.
I think it was Rio Ferdinand. Was it Rio Ferdinand who was going when he scored in the Champions League final? Ballon d'Or. That's it. And probably the Champions League final is a big key to this thing. You know what I mean? My pick for Ballon d'Or is Danny Gabriel, but he won't be picked because he's a defender. I mean, that's true. Ballon d'Or is a little bit about prestige and attacking player. It's on the calendar year, says Brownie, all the way from down under. Arteta needs to play best 11, even if out of position. I'd rather Timber or Calafiori play midfield than Jorginho. Partey backup should be Jorginho. Partey may not return healthy. There's a decent probability he doesn't return healthy.
Just to answer Brownie's, just want to answer Brownie's question there. Was it Cole and York who didn't speak to each other at United? No, it was Andy Cole and Teddy Sheringham.
Yeah.
And I think it started off with an England game with Teddy Sheringham coming off of the field, and I think Andy Cole going on, maybe for his first cap, and really being kind of like snubbed by Teddy Sheringham instead of giving any kind of words of encouragement or a bump fist or a shake of hands or a hug or anything. So when he went to Man United, he took that with him and he went into the changing room and they never spoke.
Yeah, a couple of votes for Odegaard here from Tiger and Gunnar and Retro. Gary said Saka was part of the highest scoring Arsenal team, and he did lead it with the goals and assists. Defense wins the game while the offense gets all the glory. I think in the Premier League, offense, more often than not, if you can score goals, you're going to win games, and that's probably where City had us last season. They were able to score goals and put games to bed sooner and quicker, which is important. Saka and Arsenal and England shared most important player, most consistent, secure on the ball, and he plays left back too. You know, that's like the little you're trying to sell something on TV. That's the little, and he can play left back too.
The problem that we have, I think, when it comes to scoring goals is, other than maybe Saka, is there anybody else in our team who gets more than one goal in a game, gets a brace, and then will go and follow it up in the next game with getting one goal, or even following up games, getting one goal, then getting in the next game? I don't.
We have a team. We have a team of equal. We have a team of equal caliber players, and they will score in streaks, as you would say, but they won't score braces or hat tricks. You'll get a 3-0 scoreline with 3 different goal scorers.
Exactly. You know? That's something that we're really missing, and I think is hurting us. The player that can do that.
We should watch for the first brace, and we should celebrate the first brace when we see it come along. You know what I mean? And I would say Saka would be the most likely to score 2 goals. If I'm going to put my hand on my heart, I would say Saka would be that player to get you 2 goals in a game. You know, because he can score penalties, takes penalties as well. It helps. Retro said Gary has a point. Mikel Arteta has picked his 25-man squad, and this team should be competing with the current rotational players. If we see a massive drop-off, question the manager and the current director of football, right, Edu. So that's an important point in terms of our squad. Now, we would think, okay, we brought in 2 players, maybe 3, but we would think that the floor of our squad is meeting the ceiling of our squad to be more consistent. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm trying to get at? So when you bring in a Jorginho or a Partey or a Waneri, their levels could be close to what we're getting from first team players.
I'm not sure.
Wouldn't be like that. You're trying to digest that? Let that sink in? Yeah. Not too sure, but think about it. Come back. Wasn't it Cole and York didn't speak to each other? And Mane and Salah had a thing going as well for a little bit. I think there's a situation in some teams. You do get to a point in some teams, Stan, when you're a good team and that clamor for competition is there, you do get to a point where players don't necessarily pick the right pass. They want to score goals and be in the forefront of Mikel's mind for the next game. And that sometimes can hurt the team as well. Because I see Stan in the open, but I don't want to pass to Stan. I'm going to take the shot because I want to play next weekend. You know what I mean?
Sometimes I think of Arsenal, it's the other way around, that we sometimes go for the extra pass when somebody should be taking a shot. And when they take the shot, it needs to be on target and work the goalkeeper instead of hitting it over or wide.
Yeah, or wide.
Straight at the keeper, which happens to us quite a lot.
Yeah. Eddie's brace against United. We're going to get into the Champions League now pretty soon. Eddie's hat-trick was even better. Waneri would be a breath of fresh air in our team. We'd like to see that, Stan, and you're definitely right, Stan. You're going to get a young player in. You might see 3 great games out of him, great cameos. Then you come back to the well for the 4th game, and he sort of disappoints you. We have to. Arsenal fans clamor for the young players to come through, and then don't understand why they're not killing teams like they were before a month ago. You know, well, they're playing senior football now. You know what I mean? It's not the same thing.
It is a big jump. Not everyone can make it, and we'll find out this season, hopefully, that Waneri's got what it takes to be in at this level. It doesn't always work, and it's you have a striker in the under 18s or whatever who's scoring 6, 7, 8 goals, but his physique is that he looks like a monster compared to his peers. And so he's going to have that advantage. But then at some point, you do stop growing. And when you come into the senior team, you no longer have those attributes. Do you see what I mean? You don't have that as an edge anymore, your physicality and your speed, because there are other players now that have that.
Yeah.
So then it's about, well, what else have you got then? And then you find out whether that person can make it. And that's happened to a lot of our forwards. Agpong. What's the other one? J. Emmanuel Lewis. We've had a lot of promising forwards, but they weren't able to make that step.
Yeah.
They tore it up at younger levels, but the attributes that they had were no longer valid when they played with men.
Yeah. As Gary said, yes, then Trossard is only shot first kind of attacker, so he does like to get a couple of shots in. Look, Martinelli's done the same thing. I don't know if there's too much difference between them. That's kind of what I'm saying. They're vying for that starting position. Martinelli gets into a position where he can shoot. He will take that shot in the hope that he can score and be on Mikel's mind for the next game. Trossard does the same thing as well. We need to get to a point where, and like I said a little bit earlier, we need to get to a point in our season where we're able to kill games off by halftime. Because I don't know if either of you, I'm sure you have looked at the list of games that's coming up. Lots of heavy league games coming in. We know the next two are difficult. But when we sprinkle in midweek games, Thursday night games, Wednesday and Tuesday night games in the Champions League, and with this new league format, it's going to make things much more difficult. First, before we talk about the format, I want to give you Man City's games and get your thoughts on this, Stan.
Just before you get into the fixtures, just as we're talking about Champions League, I was reading something. Apparently, Martinelli has been registered with the number 10 shirt. When players were registered for the Champions League, he's been registered with the number 10 shirt, not the number 11.
So, in the Champions League, you still keep your squad number, right? Or is it 1 to 11? It's not 1 to 11, right?
I think you still keep your squad number.
Keep your squad number, but he's moved from 11 to 10, right? Is that a nod to be more central?
I don't know. I don't know what it means. I don't know whether that's his squad number now indefinitely, or whether it's
BX said it was. BX said it was a mistake. He's number 11. So it could be just 11.
I'll tell you what it says. And I'm reading from. What am I reading?
You might have been clickbaited.
Yahoo or something. It's Yahoo or something. It says that talking about Tierney suffering a serious hamstring. And it says there has also been a surprise change in Gabriel Martinelli's shirt number. The Brazilian who has worn number 11 jersey has been registered with the number 10 shirt.
Yeah.
And then it also says Ethan Nwaneri and Miles Lewis-Skelly are not part of that List A squad. They can be included in the List B squad, which can be submitted at 11 p.m. on the night preceding each match. Stats from UEFA.com.
So what is the B squad? How does that pertain to the first team? And is that like a secondary or a standby list of players if you have injuries or? It's crazy.
Yeah, I suppose it says there they can be included in the List B squad. But that List B squad can be submitted. I suppose if you get an injury or something like that, because it says that this can be submitted at 11 p.m. on the night preceding each match. So maybe you have to make certain changes,
Wow. The administration department is going to be a lot more busy this season, submitting changes here and there from Mikel. Has the 25-man squad been announced for the Champions League yet? I don't think so. I haven't seen anything, but
yeah, I think so.
Okay. Any notable exceptions? You said Nwaneri. Yeah.
And Miles Lewis-Skelly.
Okay. I mean,
Tierney's part of it. Tierney's
part of it. I don't know. I mean, how do we feel about that? I mean, it's probably a good thing, right? Keeping the younger players away from the firing line, or would it be a good thing to include them?
Right. Obviously, seeing he's not being
Miguel's
frozen
decided.
out, he's
Yeah.
still being considered as part of the group. He's been away on
Yeah.
loan, was injured for a portion of it. He's now back. There was no sale for him, so I suppose he's part of the group.
Yeah.
You know?
Lawrence, what are your thoughts on one area and Miles Skelly? You know, are we doing the right thing keeping him out of the Champions League and they'll get league minutes?
Yeah, I agree. You know, he needs to get experience, and I don't think he's ready yet for the Champions League.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think you've got what's the word? You've got to bleed them in. You know, let them get some league games underneath their belt.
Yeah.
Before you know, because you can't just throw him there at the deep end.
I will say that the decisions that Mikel and Edu make generally are the correct decisions when it comes to players. Whether they make it at Arsenal, whether they've been loaned out or not, I don't think it's a bad thing for Fabio Vieira, for instance. They've realized that he's only going to get a couple of games here and there if he stays at Arsenal. They've realized it's the best thing for him to go back to Portugal and play games again, regain fitness, have a good season. I know you're a Fabio Vieira on his side, Stan. I think it's probably the best thing for Fabio Vieira to go back and play.
Well, I don't know what the reasoning is because we're short.
Well, to play games for him.
But we're short. He'd probably get games with us. You know, I thought maybe this could have been a important season for him.
I think sometimes loans are seen as a bad thing, like you're casting a player out of your immediate area and you're saying, go play somewhere else. But I think it's actually could be a beneficial thing. You want him, you can't offer that player games at your club, but you need him to play games.
It paid dividends for William Saliba, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it did.
It gave him a pathway.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we were more stacked, I could understand Teabag going out on loan.
Yeah.
But because we let 3 go and only brought 1 in, I feel that we're short.
Yeah.
Well, if you count Reece Nelson, even that's, you know, Reece Nelson. Okay, you could say that he was replaced with Sterling, but there's been no replacement for Eddie either.
We could probably throw that out into the chat box and let the chat tell us as well. Did we make a mistake by letting by not keeping one of Fabio Vieira or Nelson? I can't throw
maybe not Nelson because Nelson's kind of been replaced with Sterling, right? But we haven't replaced the 3 from midfield. Only brought in 1, and we haven't replaced Eddie with another backup striker. If we're saying Jesus and Havertz, you know, we're short, and one of our strikers is injured at the minute, and doesn't seem to be any news about when he's coming back or what the status is.
Jesus, indeed.
Yeah. And Havertz, is he going off at internationals? Is Havertz off at internationals?
Yeah.
Our one sort of striker who we have available, has he gone off to play with Germany? He's their number 1 striker. So if Germany are in this tournament, he's obviously there.
BX Gunner, my one hope is that the manager has learned a thing or two about squad selection, substitutions, and rotating properly. Indeed. I mean, we have to believe now, coming into his fifth year as a manager, probably his 5th season, he has to learn a thing or two. Gary said, letting go isn't the issue, not replacing is the issue. Letting him go on loan, yeah, I definitely agree with you, Gary. We're a little bit light, as Stan has said. One area is my Millsmith Rowe replacement. I think we'll feel a little bit better if and when we see one area play a little bit more consistently. So now I think we should jump into the Champions League, right? Ready?
Yep.
Okay. I had a look at Man City just for shits and giggles. I had a look at Man City and their Champions League games. And when we look at Arsenal's, we realize that I feel there's a contrast here in terms of the strength, right? So, Lawrence and Stan, I'm going to give you the 8 games that Man City are going to play. Inter Milan at home, Bratislava away, Sparta Prague at home, Sporting Lisbon away, Feyenoord at home, Juventus away, and Club PSG away, and Club Brugge at home. So what do you think, Stan? It seems light to me.
It's quite a mixed bag.
You have Inter Milan, Juventus, and PSG as the 3 teams that are decent. But then you got Bratislava, Sparta, Sporting, Feyenoord, and Club Brugge.
I think we could get maybe some upsets along the way.
Yeah.
It's quite a mixed bag.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It's not. You know. It's not. I wouldn't say it was a weak tie or favourably strong. I mean, you know.
I mean, the draw is taken from the same pots, right? You get everybody's got 2 teams from pot 1, 2 teams from pot 2, 3, and 4, respectively. Lawrence, what are your thoughts of Man City's workload there in the Champions League?
Yeah, like Stan says, it's a mixed bag. You know, they've got some tough games in there, but they've got some games they should easily get 3 points from.
All right, let's go through Arsenal's now, and I'll give you the 8 teams that we're going to play, and then we'll go sort of game by game first, and then after that, okay? So the first game is out of the blocks is at Atlanta, away from home. Then we come back to PSG at home and Shakhtar Donetsk at home. Inter Milan away, Sporting Lisbon away, Monaco at home, and Dinamo Zagreb at home. And then we finish with Girona in Spain away for the last game.
For me, there's teams there that we're playing at home that I'm glad that we've got them at home and not going to go to their place.
Right. PSG, Shakhtar.
I'd rather play them at home than some of our young players have to go over there.
And Dinamo.
Yeah, another one. I'd rather play them at home.
As you said, Stan, looking at travel, if you're going away from home, you're going to Italy in Atlanta, you're going to Milan, 2 Italian teams. You're going to play Sporting Lisbon in Portugal and Girona in Spain. Somewhat shorter trips, right?
I'd rather play those teams than the other ones at their grounds.
Yeah.
Some of those, you know, it can be a bit of an eye opener. Some, you know, the atmosphere.
Fair. Yeah.
You know, all the flares and all the fucking stuff going on, and you know what I mean. You're like, fucking hell.
Because, you know, you and I think
you can control that
alike.
at home a bit better.
I think we think alike, and you were talking about how we were overawed by the occasion in Porto.
I thought so. I'm hoping that last season gave them a little of, you know, got them used to that a little bit more. Yeah. But as I say, some of those fixtures that we've got at home, I'd rather be playing those teams at home than going over to their place.
Right. What do you think, Lawrence? Yeah. And BX Gunner says some very top, for some very exciting games incoming, says BX Gunner. PSG without Kylian Mbappe, but, you know, still is PSG. It's a glamour tie.
Well, the first game is on a Thursday night.
Yep.
Before the Manchester City game. So,
yep.
And
we play away from home, and they play at home before we face up against each other.
Yeah. And this is a team that won the Europa League last season.
Yep.
So we mustn't take them lightly. But as I said, we should scrape through. Yeah, we've got some really difficult games. You know, PSG, Shakhtar Donetsk. Is it AC Milan or Inter Milan we got?
We have got Inter.
Inter Milan. Yeah, yeah.
Which are Inter Milan probably right now are probably a better team than AC Milan.
Yeah.
You know?
Girona and Sporting as well.
Girona.
We should scrape through.
Yeah, all right. Let's get into the nitty gritty of each game now. We won't stay too long on this one. But Stan, we go to Atlanta as we mentioned. We go to Atlanta, and Lauren said they've won the Europa League Cup. They won the Europa League. They did it last season with Lookman as well, scoring a hat trick. You know, a bit of a flash in the pan kind of player. So we play them right after. We play them right in between Tottenham and Man City when we come back. So
at their place away.
At their place as well. And
yeah, I don't know too much about Atalanta other than the Europa League win and the Lookman stuff, which I heard about. But I don't know. I can't really tell you that much about the team. I don't know how they finish in their league. I don't know if they've won cups, if they get to semi-finals in their league. You know what I mean? In the cup competitions.
Yeah.
I really couldn't tell you. But obviously, they done well. They won the Europa League when we couldn't. Granted, notwithstanding it was with different teams, different squad lineups, but they've won that competition, and you have to respect them.
They're a decent outfit. Liverpool had a sticky patch when they lost to Crystal Palace in April, and I think they met Liverpool, beat them 3-0 at Anfield on a bad night, obviously. Yeah, Atlanta beat them. Atlanta beat them in the semi-final. Okay. So they are a good side, well coached, and they press pretty well.
And they have the home
I think it's a very tough away game, and I think honestly we'll probably get beaten out there because our eyes are going to be on Tottenham and Man City, and this is going to be more like a Super League. This format is like a Super League. So I do think we're going to. I do think a lot of teams are going to lose a couple of games, probably away from home, in this format as well. And Atlanta will be playing the first game at home in the Champions League, and they'll be waiting and ready for us, I think. So it's Lawrence. It's going to be a very difficult game out there in Italy.
Yeah. It's a tough place to go. Atalanta, as you said, beat Liverpool in the Europa League. So we've got to be careful.
BX said, I think we have a team capable of making multiple deep cup runs. Look, I don't know if we're going to finish in the top 8 at the end of this Champions League format, but we'll definitely be in a position where we're not going to be one of the teams eliminated. Whether we make the top 8 cut off or we go into a 2-game playoff will be obviously up for decision here. Red John says, actually, this new format is very good for Arsenal. For once, Real Madrid will have to play UCL teams more regularly instead of resting their best 11 during La Liga. Okay, so there'll be a little bit more of a mixture. So Stan, after Atlanta, we're going to go for a Carabao Cup game after Man City against Bolton. We'll skip through that one. The next one will be a PSG at home between Leicester on the Saturday at home and Southampton on the Saturday. So PSG sandwiched between Leicester and Southampton. 2 games we should be able to navigate in the league. And now we have a glamour tie against Paris Saint-Germain at home.
It really does feel like the way that football is now at the top level is like you're playing 2 leagues simultaneously now.
Yeah,
we're in the Premier League and the Champions League is a league now. It really feels that way. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the manager is able to manage the players that he has.
Yeah,
because there's going to have to be rotation. Big time. And
he won't be able to roll the same team.
And for me, I would have liked to have seen, in a perfect world, Saka and Declan Rice shouldn't have really been coming back into the Arsenal team maybe coming in, into maybe the Brighton game.
Yeah.
Maybe they're coming off the bench and being worked back in, and being able to have an extended rest period. But our team is so short, we can't do things like that, and I worry that it's those little things that we can't do like that because of the thin squad that we have. It's all about fine margins.
Yeah.
And now what do we see? We see Declan Rice now having to take an enforced rest because he ain't going to be available for us for the game that we really want him to be available for, and that's the North London derby.
Yeah. And we mentioned this, Red John, leading up to the Champions League chat that we're having right now. We mentioned a little bit about Arsenal, and we're actually on board with Sterling. We mentioned that earlier in the podcast. We're on board with Sterling. We've mentioned a number of different factors why we are.
I've succumbed to it.
And the thing that you say about helping Saka's legs and not wearing him out through the season, and Sterling's actually a very, very good fit to be that secondary player because he's not the superstar he was at Man City. He's come down a level or two, and Saka has risen. So now he's seen more as another squad player, maybe not an understudy to Saka, but another squad player. But Lawrence, we're going to have that glamour tie with Paris Saint-Germain between Leicester and Southampton. Ramsdale will come back to the Emirates after the PSG game.
Yeah. Yeah. Gonna be nice to see him back.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll be looking forward to that Paris Saint-Germain game. I think we lose out in Italy against Atalanta, and here we get a win against Paris Saint-Germain. I think it's going to be one of those Champions League nights, I believe. The ones where the crowd are into it. It's noisy. Yeah. It's going to be what date is it going to be? Late September. Might be getting a little bit cooler. One of those cool, crisp nights in London where the fans are into it. Stan, after that, it seems like we go Premier League, Champions League, Premier League. So we're going to sandwich Shakhtar Donetsk at home with Bournemouth away and Liverpool at home on the Sunday. So Shakhtar is a team they're a dangerous team, right? I remember they always have fast technical players. Mudryk came to the fore with Shakhtar Donetsk, played quite well in the Champions League, as I said 2 years ago against Celtic. He scored a couple of goals, but Shakhtar is a team that we're going to have to be careful with, but we can take care of them.
I'd like to think that we should be able to get the points at home against Shakhtar.
Yeah.
It just depends who's going to be available to us at that point.
And I think in this Champions League, it's so important to win your home games. Because points on the road are going to be a little bit tricky. We mentioned Porto last season, how we were a little bit nervous, had that trepidation of going into the Champions League once for the first time again. Like I said, I think that experience will stand us in good stead, particularly in the knockout stages in the new year. So, yeah, Lawrence, Shakhtar will be the third game of our Champions League. I think we got a win there.
Yeah, but is that a home game or an away game?
It's a home game, so the third game. Yeah. On the caption, on the banner at the bottom, I've got away, home, home, away, away, home, home, away for the 8th.
Oh, okay. All right.
So we're on the fourth one now. Yeah. Stan, we're on the fourth one now. One of the toughest games, Inter Milan at the San Siro, away from home. That'll be a tricky one.
Yeah, but again, it's fixtures like that where you grow up as a player. You need to pass that test. You need to have fixtures like this if you're trying to put yourself on the map as a class player. Those are the places where you need to go, and you need to be able to do something. So I'm good. We'll be able to see what we have.
This is probably the toughest week we're going to have. We start with Newcastle away on the Saturday, and then we go to Inter Milan away on a Wednesday, and then we finish at Stamford Bridge with Chelsea away. We got 3 away games in a week.
I think just going back to the just that Inter Milan game, I think that these away days is what some of these players really need. They need that experience because it's something that they've not had, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't want to dodge fixtures like that because at some point you have to know whether you're ready or not to play in that kind of an atmosphere.
Yeah, I think the likes of Bukayo Saka, William Saliba, the Ballon d'Or nominees will be the ones who'll be up for that kind of game. They would love to go to that arena in Italy and show up and put a performance in, and come back with a win. It just worries me now. We got to go to Newcastle before that, and Chelsea after that. It's going to be a tough week in early October as well. Yeah, Lawrence. As Stan knows, we're all a little bit long in the tooth, right? But what does Inter Milan and Arsenal remind you of? You know what I mean? There was a certain result.
When we demolished them 5-1.
Yeah, there was a certain result back in the day when we beat them 5-1. Thierry Henry and his pomp. Yeah, and I'm sure some of the Italian Inter Milan fans will remember that one as well. Oh, that's Arsenal. I remember them. 20 years ago, they took us apart and embarrassed us. You know what I mean? As Red John said, if Sterling fluffs this season, his career is done. Probably Saudi imminent. He actually turned down going to Saudi Arabia. Could have got 650,000 a week. He turned it down to go to Arsenal.
But what John's saying there is if he doesn't do anything with us, maybe you never know. Maybe that boat might have sailed, depending on the season he has. Right, so he has a lot to prove. He's actually playing.
28.
Not only is he sort of like playing to stick one up on Chelsea, he is playing for his next contract somewhere. Maybe with Arsenal.
You think?
Maybe, you know what I mean? He's playing
you're the one that usually throws your devil's advocate or advocate card or whatever at me. I'll throw it at you, Stan. Raheem Sterling has a very good season for Arsenal. What do we do? In the summer, what do we do?
Again, it depends on what it really does depend, doesn't it? What
depends on the wages, right?
No, not so much on the wages. It depends on the performance. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Let's say he scores 18 goals in the league, 15, 18 goals in the season. A pretty hefty return, you know what I mean? We would have to make a decision then.
I'd be inclined. And then it's like, well, how long are you going to offer a contract for as well?
Yeah.
But I would, if he's performing at that kind of a level, you would have to say that, he shows that he could be part of this team and be a contribution. Why would you get rid of him to bring someone else in as an unknown quantity and it might not work out and end up
even
like
if he's 20?
You know what I mean?
Even if he's getting to that age that he's nearly Trossard's age, or I think they're close in age, and some Arsenal fans want.
I think Trossard's a year older.
Huh?
I think Trossard's a year older.
Yeah, they're close in age. I remember a few weeks back, says Red John, I mentioned Arsenal should have signed Chiesa for the 12 million price tag. Sterling, even right now, is definitely better than Chiesa. I actually saw on my timeline as well. I didn't mention this player a lot, but I did mention him about 3 weeks back. Brian Mbeumo from Brentford. And now there's actually news that Arsenal looked at him. Arsenal were quite sweet on him and were going to pounce on him. But for probably Ivan Toney going, they would have probably tried to bring him in at Brentford to Arsenal. Could be one we revisit in January. Who knows? Tom Tottenham, Atlanta, Man City sounds harder. Atlanta knocked out Liverpool too. Yeah, we just mentioned that Atlanta is a very, very tough team. Actually, I would if you're giving me 2 wins out of these three, I'd rather beat Tottenham and Man City and take the
I'm,
L.
I'm at that stage now where I don't want to shirk fixtures. I'm like, fuck it, let's just play everybody.
Bring it on.
It gives a fuck. Whatever comes out of the pot, let's just fucking plan, because you've got to know where you are. You've got to really know where you are. And if we come out of a range of games, maybe then it will help us to understand, well, we're not at the level that we thought we were. It may help the manager to think, okay, I really do need to change something in this particular area of the pitch. So it's an acid test. It's an acid test. And although I'm nervy, I'm not saying I'm not nervy, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't want to hide from anyone. We've got to go to the San Siro.
Wow.
We go to the San Siro. And if we have these Atalanta between Tottenham and Man City, let's see what we're made of collectively as a team. Let's see what we can pull out.
Don't get me wrong.
Engage it.
Don't get me wrong. I want to be that Arsenal fan who sees our team dominate and eviscerate teams easily. Right? We're not there right now.
We play FIFA then. You'd love it.
Yeah, we're not there right now. So I want to actually feel those emotions that you're talking about. Have the little bit of trepidation of a big game. Go to Atlanta. This is a good team in Italy. We could lose this game, but we could actually win it. And it's a game that's in the balance. And to your point, Stan, let's not have any more accusations of binning off cup competitions. Use your squad. Use the extent of your squad. Don't have any players on your squad with 400 minutes or 500 minutes at the end of the season. And don't cherry pick what games you want to attack and what games you don't want to attack. You know?
Yeah, this is a big season for Mikel Arteta as well, because, his, what's the word I'm looking for? His rookiship, if this what you like, for me, is over now. He knows what the league's all about. But he's got this new beast now to contend with, as of other managers, because of the format. So it's going to be interesting to see how he navigates and handles players through this season, because we know that there are certain players that you need to be careful with. Tommy Ashley, you need to be careful with. I suppose we should say that we need to be careful with Timber coming off of the injury that he had. Kieran Tierney, that's a player that we need to be careful with, right? He's still part of the team.
Yeah.
Gabriel Jesus is a player that we need to be careful with. Zinchenko, another one. So we know that we have Thomas Partey. So we have these. It's going to be interesting to see how Mikel. It's all down to the management.
Yeah, for sure. I want to say one thing, Nick. Thanks for being here with us, and it's always nice when you check in and tell us you're gonna hit the hay, right? You're gonna hit the pillow now, and Nick. So thanks for being here. Appreciate you for being here as long as you are. And I know it's 3:00 in the UK right now. So 7:00 where you are, Stan and Lawrence, and 10:00 in the evening here. So thanks for being here. Yeah, Stan, as you were saying, there is the aura of this competition hanging over Mikel Arteta. There is the aura of expectation as the seasons go on and he gains more and more experience. The pressure builds just a little bit more on the actual manager as well. And we've trimmed down this squad to where he wants it to be. And he's got to now manage the minutes between. We don't want to see Bukayo Saka have 80% of the minutes and Sterling only 20. It's probably got to be more of a 65-35 split, like a 2-1 split. And thereby you're saving Bukayo Saka's legs, but you're also using Sterling. You have him for a season. Use him. And as you said earlier, Stan, use him on other parts of the field. He can be on the field at the same time as Saka is on the field as well. So
you got to do things like be a little bit clever, like for example the Atlanta game that comes in the middle of those two big fixtures in the league. If for whatever reason we find ourselves on 50 minutes being 2-0 up, and Saka's played in the previous game and is playing in this game, then maybe we have to be a little bit brave and say, okay, we've got, we're 2-0 up. Let's take him off. Let's bring on Sterling, or let's whoever it may be, right? You know what I'm getting at?
If we're leading
to the ground, he gets through the game, and then in the derby, he's playing about 80% because he's leggy.
Man City will have Inter Milan at home. It's a tough game, but they'll be playing at home. They won't be traveling, so they'll be ready for another home game against Arsenal on the Sunday. As you said, we're winning 2-1 or 2-0 with 25 minutes to go. Lean on your defense. That's been so good for you. Take Bukayo Saka off, save his legs, bring Sterling on. Maybe
take off Saka, bring on Calafiori or Timber, whoever, shore up the defense, change the style of play. But you don't have to constantly be on the counter attack and doing that high press. If you feel comfortable about it, rely on your defense, like you say, get a little bit more compact and just soak it up, and don't let anybody in, and just change your style of play.
We all remember the proper European away nights. You know what I mean? You go away, you get your goal, 1-0 to the Arsenal, and then you seal and shore it up with the likes of Tony Adams.
You shut the shop.
Shut up the shop, exactly.
That's it. We're closed now. That's it. Last orders.
No more. We'll take our 3 points and go home. So, Lawrence, that's the first 4 games are going to be Atlanta away, PSG at home, Inter Milan, and Shakhtar. The next stand. Go ahead, Lawrence. Next one up, right? Next one's going to be Sporting Lisbon away from home. We might actually.
Yeah, we've got.
Is that where Teabag's gone, right? Sporting Lisbon?
No,
he's gone back to where we bought him from.
He went back to Porto.
Yeah, he's gone back to Porto.
All right, so we will. We will come up against Gyökeres, which is one of the players. We will. Isn't that funny, Stan? How it creates stories, right? We're going to come up against Gyökeres.
Brilliant.
And you just know at Arsenal, as an Arsenal fan, you just know the story, right? He's going to score against us, right?
I'll even go as far as to say that if I'm the man, sorry, Lawrence, if I was the manager and I watch and he manages to unlock Saliba and Gabriel and score a goal, I'd be like, okay, we've got to buy this guy because he's
that would be the best asset test ever, right? You get a goal against our defense, or even like an assist of some sort, have an influence on the game. That's a big plus mark in your portfolio. And I saw another podcast as well, just to talk about this, that Man City, Liverpool, and Arsenal didn't really go big. There's a reason. There's got to be some reason why they didn't really go big. I think it was Harry Symeou said that none of the big teams really went big for a high caliber striker. Osimhen wasn't taken with the opportunities available. Ivan Toney wasn't taken. And Gyökeres is sitting there, and nobody's really willing to push the boat out. Harry Symeou seems to think something big might happen in the next year or so that will go, aha, that was the reason why none of the big clubs went for Osimhen or Tony.
You can't tell me that Mikel Arteta, I know hindsight is a beautiful thing, but you can't tell me that Mikel Arteta and Edu Gaspar aren't sitting there when they talk now, throwing a cigar and a brandy, chatting about players, and they don't look back at being able to get Isak for 65 million before he went to Newcastle and not going to get that because, when you said about playing Inter Milan and Thierry Henry, I'm not saying that Isak is Thierry Henry, but he is the closest that I've sort of seen in how he plays, in his style of play. It's close. I'm not saying it's the same, because Thierry Henry is one of a kind, but his style, really, to me, and we missed the boat on that. And I hope that we haven't done a similar thing with some other players. That
in a parallel universe, Dan. In a parallel universe,
is going to be worth next season if he continues in the same vein, which he looks like he has. Right? He scored what three goals in 3 games. He's scoring.
And I think he scored on international duty as well, because I saw a tweet about him scoring a few goals recently. In a parallel universe, Dan and Lawrence, that Inter Milan supporter who's going to see Arsenal at Inter Milan will remember 5-1. And in a parallel universe, we'd have bought Alexander Isak.
Only if that supporter is an old bastard like us three. This is some young kid who doesn't even know Thierry Henry is.
There's 3 of them out there, just like us, in Italy somewhere, probably doing the same thing.
And what made me think about that was that someone put up a picture on Twitter of a lot of number 7s from Arsenal with the name, Riziki, Pires, Mkhitaryan, Liam Brady. Who else am I missing? Rocastle as well. And they said, who is the number 7 that was your number 7 when you first started watching Arsenal?
And Perez. Yeah. And
there wasn't a lot of Brady's.
It was Rocastle for me.
There was some Mkhitaryan's in there. Jeez. It just shows you the age group, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's probably a lot of fans that go to Inter Milan that don't really even know about Thierry Henry.
I came along. I started supporting Arsenal when George Graham had that young team.
For Lawrence.
Yeah, when George Graham had that young team in the late 80s. And it was Rocastle for me, that number 7.
Who was your first number 7, Lawrence, when you started following Arsenal?
So what was that?
Who was your first number 7 when you started following the team? Who was playing at 7?
Georgie Armstrong.
George Armstrong. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Then Liam Brady.
Yeah, that's where I come in.
Rocastle for me. So I'm not the oldest bastard here.
Thanks, Ray.
Makes me feel quite young all of a sudden, Where's Alonso when you need him, huh?
Where's Tony?
Alonso will bring the average, the average age of this podcast right down. Where is Tony?
Yeah.
Tony's an old bastard too. Come on, Tony. I say bastard with affection, okay? Doesn't sound like it, but I do. Vlahovic contract is up in 24 months, so maybe next season is the time he'll leave Juventus. So it'll be like the Adrian Rabiot of links to Arsenal. Was Martin Hayes a number 7? If not, who was it around the 87, 88? It was Rocastle, 87, 88. I think Martin Hayes was a 9, right? 8. Martin Hayes might have been 8. I don't know. Can't remember.
Martin Hayes was number 11.
Number 11. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, he was on the left wing.
After Graham Ricks, wasn't it? Graham Ricks was 11
before that. I still remember Martin Hayes in the season we won the league in 89. He didn't do a lot, but he scored a goal on the run-in against Middlesbrough.
Yeah, up at Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough. Yeah,
exactly.
It's funny that in my younger years, a lot of my favourite players growing up always seemed to be the players that played on the left as well. Like Anders Limpar, Paul Merson. I love players that played on the left.
Mercurial.
Everyone called.
How about Brian Marwell?
Everyone called. Yeah.
Stan, you know who I'm going to mention next, right?
Anders Limpar.
No, it's an Irish player on the left.
Oh, not Eddie McGoldrick. I remember seeing him play a lot as a wing back, though. I remember seeing Eddie play a lot as a wing back.
Everyone had a nickname for Martin Hayes. They called him Whoopsie Daisy because of the way he played. Yeah. because he always tripped over his feet. You know, they played him on the right, and all he could do was cut in. He would never use his left foot.
Tell you one player I really loved, though he was fast. Was sorry, Lawrence, go ahead.
No. As I said, everyone called him Whoopsie-daisy.
How about Perry Groves? Was he fast? Perry Groves was fast.
He was fast, but he had no ball control.
I know, but that's why I loved him. I loved him. You didn't know what he was going to do.
Those tight shorts, man.
Yeah. He set up the
short shorts.
He set up the winning goal in the Little Woods Cup final against Liverpool. Charlie Nicholas.
He used to go to Highbury for a period on a regular basis. Perry Groves, right? He'd be on the bench, and all the fans would be singing songs and "Hey Perry," but then when he got up to warm up, everybody would be like, "Oh no!" It was a really weird relationship. As he came on,
remember
like, no!
Do you remember when he got injured and they were carrying him off the pitch? They were walking around the ground and they accidentally dropped him off the stretcher.
Poor Perry.
Tintin.
All right, Lawrence, we have to tell what year are you talking about Armstrong War 7? Was it from anywhere between 61, 77?
The double year.
71.
The double year, 71, yeah.
71. Okay. Yeah.
It was Brady next, because my first game I think was 78. I saw Liam Brady play, whatever the season was. It was the season that he played in that season, and then the next season he left for Germany. What was that, 78 or 79? Was it 80?
Had to be
one of those three.
Yeah.
Probably 80.
What, Lawrence?
Played in the 79 cup final.
He left in 1980.
Yeah, he left in 1980, yeah.
Yeah, so 79.
I cried my eyes out when he left.
So
a lot of fans did.
Because the Arsenal board wouldn't pay him the money he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
He would have stayed, but the Arsenal board at the time refused to pay him the money that he wanted.
It's a pity I'm not a little bit older, because I would have liked to seen Liam Brady, an Irishman, play for Arsenal. You know, we had David O'Leary, and I saw a lot of David O'Leary. We had some of I saw some Niall Quinn. There you go. Not the same player as Liam Brady, obviously. And there was a
Pat Jennings.
Pat Jennings. And
Frank Stapleton.
Frank Stapleton, yeah. He went to United then after, didn't he?
Stapleton.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then and then we had Eddie McGoldrick, the likes of Eddie McGoldrick after that. It just wasn't the same. Just wasn't the same after that.
How Irish was
last Irish player, right? Eddie McGoldrick's probably the last Irish player to play for Arsenal. Come on, Brian.
Irish was it?
Huh?
How Irish was he?
How Irish was Eddie McGoldrick?
His nan
was he one of those players who claimed to have an Irish grandmother or something?
Probably not, because Jack Charlton didn't pick him.
Speaking of players that have played for Ireland, so England are going to be playing Ireland, aren't they?
Yes. Yes.
In this UEFA Home Nations thing. What sort of reception do you think Declan Rice will get? Because he played 3 times for Ireland.
He did.
He's played 3 times for Ireland in the first team, not the B squad or whatever. And now he's going to be going back to Dublin in an England shirt. What sort of reception do you think he'll get right? And be honest.
I would like to think it's been forgotten about. You know what I mean? We've moved on from that, but I don't know.
You're right. You're asking that.
And you seem to forget Lee Carsley, the caretaker manager, used to play for Ireland.
He did. Yeah.
Really, Brownie Grealish didn't play for the senior team. Grealish only played at youth level. So
right.
It's a bit different, right? He made his choice, whereas Declan played.
And Declan's an Irish name, Brownie.
He's mad, though, isn't it? He played 3 times for the senior team and then switched. That's a bit naughty. That's naughty. That is naughty.
And Declan Rice.
That's what
He
we're
played
talking
for
about.
Ireland.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's what we're mentioning. Come on, Bond, pay attention.
Your internet must be lagging.
See, you're like Q when Q's showing Bond all of these fancy
Pay
pens.
attention, 007.
007, pay attention.
I reckon he's going to get pelters.
Yeah,
And why
I
not?
mean,
And rightly so. And rightly so. Do you know what I mean? It's part of the game. He has to go over the top.
Yeah, there'll be a certain percentage of old bastards who won't forget.
It's all right if you make the change at youth level because you got a choice, right? But he played 3 times, man. And then it was like, nah. What was he like? This is shit.
As Red John said, the modern football can't compare with the past, even the previous gentleman generation.
He would have had 100 caps by now.
Who's that?
If he stayed with Ireland. Declan Rice would probably be the captain.
Oh,
and would have had 100 caps.
Yeah. Sanchez, Ozil, Drew don't have the same feel as the group from the 90s or the early. Gentlemen, good evening. 00 Slice X, thanks for being here.
Man.
Yeah.
Welcome in.
That was a nice little diversion into the 70s, 80s, maybe 90s of Arsenal.
When the football kits were very itchy.
Especially
and
the ones Perry Groves had didn't Perry Groves have like short shorts or they were
very tight, weren't they?
They were high up or
aerodynamic.
The thing I remember about Perry Groves,
very aerodynamic.
The thing I remember about Perry Groves, he had this massive throw.
Yes.
You know, he could throw the ball from the halfway line.
Yes.
But
bring back the baggy shirts.
Sometimes you have those players that are in that kind of, you got your Perry Groves is one. I put in David Hillier might be another one. Giles Gramondi might be another one. Players that they're part of the team, but they might not be your first picks, but they're part of the team.
Solid
they
players.
They come in and do a job for you.
Yeah.
The best player that can do a job for you, that's the title. Sylvian Wiltord could have walked into any other team.
Yeah, I loved him when he was at Bordeaux.
Fighting against Bertrand and Henry. What a player!
These are the days when you didn't know much. Like you got your information from CFAX, right? You didn't have a phone, right, or teletext. But we knew about Sylvain Wiltord from Bordeaux, maybe because of the newspapers, right? There might have been other English teams looking at him, but he came to Arsenal and he was perfect. He would come in and score goals. There's some reels of him actually scoring the important goals as well, like the one at he helped score. Did he score the goal at Old Trafford? And I seem to remember him jumping over another player.
He did score some important goals for us.
Hopscotching over the shoulders of another player.
Are you thinking of Christopher Ray? No,
this is at Old Trafford when Wiltord scored that goal.
It was Carno. It was Carno who did that.
He hopscotched over the top of Wiltord. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, things that went wrong were Stephen Morrow as well.
Oh,
getting dropped.
Dropped by Tony.
Did Stapleton leave? Did Stapleton leave the year after Brady or the same year? Finish your point, Lawrence. Sorry.
Did you know that Perry Groves was George Graham's first signing for Arsenal?
Yeah, from Colchester, right?
Colchester, yeah. And then he went back to
Colchester. Not bad.
How many divisions down was Colchester to Arsenal at that time? What was that gap? Were they the 2 leagues below?
I think they were in the 4th division. Yeah,
like 3 divisions.
And then we went back. Yeah, then George Graham went back to Colchester, and and signed Ian Allenson.
I remember.
I tell you what, though, like even Mikel Arteta has done some of this as well. You go to some players in the lower leagues. I mean, he probably hasn't done it right, but I'm sort of counteracting what I just said. But George Graham bought Lee Dixon and he bought Nigel Winterburn as well. Players
Stoke,
from the
wasn't
lower
it?
leagues as well. Stoke,
Oh,
Steve
where did Bolt
Bolt.
come from?
Yeah, he came from Stoke as well. You know, before Stoke was the Stoke that we didn't like. Did Stapleton leave the year after Brady or the same year, Lawrence?
No, he left a couple of years after Brady. He left.
Okay.
I think he left. Brady left in 1980, and Brady left it, and Stapleton left the following year in 81.
I mean, there's pictures of all the Irish lads at Arsenal. There was like 5 or 6 at one time.
There was a big connection, wasn't there? Very big connection with Ireland.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to look at Roy Keane as well, right? There was a connection in football in general, like Roy Keane. You know, there was what happened to that? Doesn't happen anymore, does it? Now, rather than getting a young lad from Ireland to come across, George Best, another example, right? Probably the best example, right? But now, rather than getting some young guy from Ireland to come across and live in digs and see if he can work his way in, you're getting someone like a Marquinhos from somewhere in the lower leagues in Brazil.
I think.
Do you know what I mean?
I think the Irish setup is not as good as it used to be. I think they've probably gone backwards at grassroots level. So you don't see those players coming through in the Premier League, especially. I couldn't tell you who the best Irish player is right now. Maybe
probably the same for Scotland as well. Scotland's probably the same, bar a couple of defenders, Robertson and Tierney.
You're not seeing it anymore.
You get that Scottish contingent at Liverpool, right?
Yeah.
You know?
And maybe it's part of the we went too much into the continent, you know what I mean? Too much onto Spain and France, where you do have great players there, but they turn their eyes away from the local countries, you know, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and Ireland, you know.
And I think the biggest like criminality, if you want to call it, as I know we're sort of hopping about on tonight's show, is the lack of good quality English managers. You have to look at the Premier League. How many of them are English out of the teams that are in there? It's ridiculous that there's no investment pathway to, you know what I mean? Because I honestly believe that when it comes to international management, that should be the players from that country going up against the best players from other countries, but that should also include the manager. And when it comes to England, you know, there's really only a couple of choices. I mean, you know, the England manager now is from the under-21 setup. He's not like someone who's come from a club in the Premier League. There's only a couple, isn't there? There's little Lord Fauntleroy over at Newcastle, and then you got Sean Dyche over at, you know, in Everton. Is there anyone else English? Have I missed anyone? Is there anyone else?
But Graham Potter, what's he doing now?
Spending his money from Chelsea that he gets every month, probably.
Isn't the Southampton manager English?
I don't know.
Gary O'Neill, he's English.
Yeah.
But it's a very small percentage, isn't it? And the teams that that they're at, they're not. You know, they're not big heads, are they? In any way, they're kind of.
Colin Cooper.
They're teams that usually would fight for relegation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or be. You know what I mean?
Not the top level. It's not the top 6 anymore.
Cup competition.
No more Alec Ferguson against Joe Royle, let's say. You know what I mean? Chris White was a good defender for Leeds, and he won the league with them. Or Kevin Keegan, and our Alec Ferguson and Kevin Keegan. That was legendary.
And you know, I bloody love it. The headphones on. I bloody love it. That was if you look up living rent free, that was the first incident that ever happened. Yes. That was Ferguson living rent free.
Alex Ferguson was like, got him.
Can I answer the question football with Brownie has posted?
Oh, just call him
Chris
Brownie.
White. Oh, Brownie. Okay. Yeah, he didn't do well at Arsenal. They even played him up front as a striker.
Yeah.
And I remember going to a game against West Ham at Upton Park where he was put through one-on-one with the keeper. He took the ball round him. All he had to do was put it in the net. He blasted it over the bar.
Yeah. Now,
Lawrence,
you're talking.
Lawrence, let me ask Lawrence a question. What was the deal between with that player that we bought one summer? It was one of the Allen brothers. It was either Clive or Paul Allen. We signed the player, and then before the season started, we sold the player.
Yeah.
And bought in someone else.
Well,
it was
QPR, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, what happened is that Terry Neal really wanted to buy Kenny Sansom from Crystal Palace. Okay, and there was an argument between the chairman of Crystal Palace and the one of QPR. They refused to do business with one another. So what happened is that Arsenal went out and bought Clive Allen from QPR for £1 million, which was a record for a teenager back then. And then he played like a couple of friendlies, and it didn't work out. And Terry Neal contacted Terry Venables at Palace and says, "Do you want it? Do you want Clive Allen? give us Kenny Sansom." And Terry Venables, yeah, sure. So they did. They did a
Kenny
swap.
Sansom out of the deal. We got Kenny Sansom out of the deal, and Clive Allen. You know, he went to that lot down the road as well. And
yeah, that was the year Palace got. That was that was the year Palace
Lawrence,
got relegated.
Lawrence, if you check the podcast contract, I'm sure you must have received it from Ray. I've got one. It does say that if we die on air, there's no insurance. So you won't get nothing. Just wanted to let you know.
Not during the podcast, no.
There's no insurance. Ray's not been paying. He missed the payments.
It's blue M&Ms for you, Stan. I got it. Blue M&Ms.
Yeah, for every shot.
Red John says Arsenal don't want problem players. They only want good boys who nod to everything the manager says these days. So there's no conflict in the locker room. Listen, I think it happens at every club. Do you think Pep Guardiola is going to stand for anybody? You give Pep Guardiola a problem, you're out the door. If you give Alex Ferguson a problem, you get a cup thrown at you, and then you're out the door. You know what I mean? So I'm not having it with these new managers. It was like that back in the day as well. Terry Bassett, what was the guy's name? Bassett? He was bad,
Bassett.
isn't he? Harry Bassett?
Yeah, Dave Bassett.
Dave Bassett. Who's Harry Bassett?
That's that film, minute of the geezer from the royal family. Harry Bassett, England manager. Funny film. Never seen that. It's a good film.
I have seen it. That's why I'm getting confused.
No, that's Mike Bassett. That's Mike Bassett.
That's it. Mike Bassett. Yeah, very funny.
Yeah, I'm an old bastard, so I get things mixed up once in a while. So
I have to watch that again.
Part of the appeal of watching three old bastards on a podcast is
Tiger saying,
"Come
Fred
on,
Bassett,
Alonso,
that's the fucking dog, isn't it? That's the dog."
Stan, we really need Alonso. He's going to bring the average age down a lot on this podcast if Alonso joins us.
And he brings the birds in as well, so that was
Yes, he does.
Anyway,
he pulls. The average footballer is being castrated from having an ego personality. Graham Potter doesn't want a job. If he gets a job, then Chelsea don't have to pay his contract out. He's unemployed by choice. Probably
Garden
true.
League. Yeah, that's right.
Love Keegan having a go at Ferguson. Sheer entertainment value, but Alex Ferguson was sitting back in his chair with his scotch.
We've always,
Loving
yeah,
that.
just have a mission accomplished.
And his missus probably asking why he kept rewinding the tape and watching that snippet.
I still think that if Newcastle never bought Tino Asprilla, who was a magnificent player and scored
He
a
was
lot of
an
goals,
entertainer.
it just upset the system. Do you know what I mean? It upset the system.
Right. He was a bit of he was a maverick. Yeah.
He was a good player. He's a brilliant player, but for the way that they were playing and the system, they had to change us a little bit around, or Beardsley would get left out.
When they had
never bought him, they would have won the league.
Ginola, they had
They would have
Ginola,
won the league.
Beardsley. They had Ginola, Beardsley, Albert, Les Ferdinand, right?
Yeah, and Shearer,
they were scoring goals.
well.
They were scoring
Shearer
goals
well,
for fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah, Newcastle never won the league, right?
No.
Fuck.
Not
Arsenal.
Not in
Don't
this
be
era,
Newcastle, Arsenal. Don't be
the
like
last time Newcastle won the league, my great grandfather was playing for them, and that was like 1906 or something.
That's facts. Check it out.
Yeah.
That is facts.
1906, man.
1906. Fuck.
Yeah, around that. It's like time.
Newcastle, start doing what City have been doing the last 15 years, allegedly. Does anyone know what happened to Alan Sunderland after he won that? After he scored that goal in the FA Cup?
Lawrence?
Alan Sunderland?
Why
Bond?
did he go after Arsenal?
No, I mean,
did he go to Man U?
Bond?
No, I went to Ipswich.
Ipswich, really?
We did a swap with Ipswich. We signed Paul Mariner.
Paul Mariner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Alan Sunderland went to Ipswich.
Bad deal, that. I would have kept Sunderland. That big hair. Do you remember Ipswich beating us in the League Cup game? Was it the Milk Cup? I remember that. Remember that?
I remember when we lost the
4-2
cup final to them in '78.
Oh, jeez. We went to 3 cup finals in a row and won only one of them, right?
I remember that. I was 10
Yeah.
into it.
Tiger and Gunnar, thanks for being here later. You're in Australia, though.
Can I ask Lawrence another question? Because he remembered the year. And it's one of the most, it's one of my first ever vivid memories as a young kid watching Arsenal on a television. It was an FA Cup final. And I rode over on my grifter to the Adventure Playgrounds in London. And they were showing the FA Cup final. And it was Willie Young running after that West Ham player. He just brought him down. He just slid into that player and brought him down. Do you remember that? Willie Young, the Scot with the big ginger hair.
Paul Allen.
That was, okay, it's Paul Allen. The other Allen. And he was like 17, wasn't
he? Yeah.
Willie, it's just Paul Allen running towards the goal. It's him and the goalkeeper. And Willie Young's running after him, and Willie Young just takes him out from behind. That was one of the first. What year was that? What year was
1980.
that?
1980.
That was the same year that I started. Yeah, I remember that.
Then we went to play in the Cup Winners' Cup final against Valencia, which was Liam Brady's last game for us. And we lost on penalties. And,
Graham Ricks missed his penalty.
Brady missed one of the penalties.
Graham Ricks missed the one as well, though. Graham Ricks is my favourite player. Yeah, I remember that very well. Watching it on the black and white portable.
Yeah, Tiger Gunner 70. I think it was it 79? Was it 79, 80, and 81, or was it 78, 79, 80?
78, 79, and 80.
Who did we lose to in 78 then?
Ipswich.
Ipswich, and then we lost to West Ham in 80.
And then Luton. Do you remember we lost to Luton?
Beat Man United.
Yeah.
Beat Man United in 79.
Yeah. Arguably the toughest game where we beat Man United. You know?
Luton, I think, was 84.
89.
84,
88.
No.
Luton was 88 in the Littlewoods Cup final.
Yeah. We battered them that game.
Yeah,
Nigel
come out the
Winterburn
army.
missed
Yeah,
the
that's right.
penalty.
Come out the army. Yeah.
Yeah, because we've beaten Liverpool the year before in the same competition. We were defending
Yeah,
the cup.
it was the first. It was the first time Ian Rush scored for Liverpool, and they lost the game.
Yep.
Also, when we lost against Liverpool in 2002,
My first trophy as a fan.
3. Remember that? Michael Owen. Fucker.
there's been a couple of, Stan and Lawrence, if you're following Arsenal for 30 years, let's say, you're going to see some good times, see some bad times. That Michael Owen one, that was bad.
That was that 2000. What was that? When was that?
2000.
Yeah, 2000.
2001. 2001.
Again, we battered them. That's when we scored the goal. We went 1-0 up and then lost it late on.
And I can't remember the player, but there was a Liverpool player who handled the ball, and the referee never gave it.
Yeah. Ancho, I think it was.
What is the Arsenal loss that hurts you the most? For me, it's the European Cup final. I don't want to watch that game again.
I mean,
I won't watch it again. I won't watch it again. I'll never watch it again. If any clips come up, I'll scroll by. I don't want to see it.
No.
Especially one where you see
you see a caption where Henry has a corner and he's hunched down with the ball at the corner. You see that picture? On about like 78, 77, 78 minutes. Like we're 15 minutes away from winning the thing. And we don't win it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 10 minutes away.
But we got tucked up, man, on the red card.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We got to see us.
That was our year. That was the year, wasn't it? That was our year.
Yeah,
that was Arsenal. That was Arsenal's year, man.
Yeah.
And if we'd kept all 11 players on the pitch, done deal.
Yeah.
The focus,
even Barca,
the will of the players,
Barcelona and their pomp, even
they couldn't handle it.
Yeah, and Wenger left Bergkamp on the bench.
Well, there's probably some injuries, right? Injury concern.
Yeah,
I remember, and had to take Perez off. Was it Perez who came off as well?
Yeah. Took Perez off, so we lost all our creativity.
Okay, we know now in modern football what you do, right? The goalkeeper lets the player score. You keep your 11 versus 11, right? You go back. Yeah. You want to rerun back to that spot. Stand. Does layman let the keeper or let the player score? Knowing what we know now, right? We then score. Let's say Sol Campbell scores the header. It's 1-1 after 30 minutes. All to play for still.
I just think that they were tucked up, big time.
Yeah, that's.
They knew that the only way that they were going to be able to get past us is if they had an extra man.
I remember.
And that's what they did. They were looking for
what?
That.
What
I really hate to say it. There was an agenda that day for me.
It's Barcelona, isn't it?
That final was written all over for Arsenal. It was just, you know what I mean? You keep 11 players on the pitch, man. It's all over, mate. There's no coming back.
Barca again, you know what I mean? And we have the thing about Robin van Persie at the new camp as well, getting a second yellow and getting sent off.
That again, exactly. Man couldn't hear the whistle.
Yeah.
You got bionic ears.
Crazy. All right, so Stan, take away the Champions League final where we lost to Barca.
Yeah.
Other than that, what is your worst memory? What is your cup final or the league?
For me,
you lost?
I've already mentioned it. It's the first time that I ever cried at a result, and it's a funny story. I was in primary school, and it was the against Valencia, the penalties, and it was my favourite player at that time was number 11, Graham Ricks. And it was funny because my mum had just recently bought me a portable telly for my bedroom, which was black and white. And I said to my mum, "This game's on." I think it was on BBC 2 or BBC 1. It was like terrestrial telly. can I watch it in here because it's in colour? And my mum was like, no, we bought you that for a reason. You asked for that at telly, you got your telly, you watch it in your room. And I was sat on my bed watching it, even had football boots on, had the whole kit on and football boots. I was shit footballer at school, but I got a pair of football boots. And when that penalty, when Graham Ricks missed his penalty, I burst into tears. And I'll never forget it because my mum came in and gave me a hug. So she was obviously watching the outcome in the front room to see that I was going to be all right. But she was teaching me a life lesson about, well, you asked for a TV and then you got to watch it on that one. But she was obviously watching. So I remember it very, very vividly. It's the first time I ever cried for football. I never cried twice at football. That was one. And the second time was an England game. That's another story. I was only crying because my mate was crying and he made me cry.
So, is it different losing? Is it different losing a cup final or losing a league game? Do you know what I mean?
Well, a finals, you know, you've done all of that hard work, and now it's like there's only 90 minutes to go. There's one game. In one game, someone's going to be lifting a trophy.
But I'm thinking,
you know
about,
what I mean? That anticipation is like, you know.
So, Arsene Wenger never, Arsenal under Arsene Wenger never repeated, right? We'd win the league, and then we wouldn't come back the next season. And
I'm glad you mentioned that because I've said for years that for me, it's a good team that wins the league, the first division or the Premier League or whatever you want to call it, right? But it's a great team that does it in consecutive years. You win it, and you're so dominant that you win it again. It's not a fluke, is it? There's no like, well, you can't call it a fucking fluke now, can you?
No.
You know what I mean? It's like, now what? Now what's your argument? And we've never done that.
Yeah.
I think, what was it?
That's since the 30s.
We won it 3 times. United won it 4 times in those early days, wasn't it? It's something like that. They got it 4 times. We won it 3 times. Yeah. And the 3 times that we won it, that we did win, or the times that we didn't win it, we were second.
Yeah,
but we were second.
It was that golden era of rivalry of 7 or 8 seasons, right?
Yeah, Tottenham wasn't our rival. They were in the same postcode, but at that time, the enemy was Man United. And I used to hate them. I used to say all the time, like, fucking hell, if you had a magic wand and I could wave it, and it meant that Manchester United had never ever existed, look how many leagues we would have won.
Yeah, exactly. But I want to say, I think that Leeds defeat at Highbury, I think Viduka scored.
Oh yeah, I vaguely remember that. Very good.
And United pipped us. That was because like we had won in 2002, and we had won in 2004.
And we've had that luxury of winning, you know, being given the trophy at Old Trafford, at White Hart Lane. I like that. Have we had it at Chelsea as well? I think we had it at Chelsea once as well, right?
White Hart Lane twice. I don't know about Chelsea in recent memory.
Liverpool. We've done it in the last day of the season, right? In '89.
Yeah.
So we have a history of like
opposing. Yeah. The one time we did do it was the last game against. I don't know if this was the last game against Everton. The Tony Adams, famous Tony Adams celebration. Yeah.
Yeah.
That might not have been when we won the league, but we probably won it with 3 games to spare. Something like that. Yeah.
But you have to remember as well, I mean, before the Invincibles, wasn't it George Graham that said that I think that this team could go unbeaten? And then that season under George Graham, they only lost, I think Lawrence can correct me, did they lost once? Once
against Chelsea.
Under George Graham.
And Tony Adams had issues and was incarcerated, was in prison for a number of games in that season.
Yeah, and there's a good documentary about that on YouTube.
Arguably, that 91 team was better than the 89 team, but the 89 team gets, I feel, more laurels, more plaudits than the 91 team. You know what I mean?
Do you think another team We'll go Invincible.
Ooh,
You think that's a
no,
feat that can be matched?
fuck. I don't want to think about this City team doing it now. You know what I mean? I think it's so difficult. We're talking about a Champions League here, Stan, right now, tonight. Okay, we'll finish out the last four fixtures in a little while. But we're talking about a Champions League that's compressing, giving the top teams 3 games a week now. Arsenal and City, Liverpool and Aston Villa. How's Aston Villa going to deal with this? I don't know how they're going to navigate this. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's gonna
Apparently
weed out
they're-
the boys from the man. Sorry, Lawrence. Go on.
Apparently, their fans are pissed off with the
It's
ticket
Aston Villa, isn't
prices they have to pay. Yeah,
97 quid a ticket. 97 quid. A
Oh,
Champions League ticket. You can go and see England for like 15, 25 quid, something like round there. To see England, the national team, but to see Villa in the Champions League, 97 quid.
really?
Pounds sterling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Arsenal tickets have increased for those fixtures by 4%. I don't know what the tickets usually were. I don't go there. I'm in Canada, but they've increased by 4%.
Right. Wow.
I heard that
so
today.
Aston
97
Villa.
quid, man. That's a lot of cheddar, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, back in the you're not taking like 2-3 kids with you, are you?
What's the capacity of Villa
Like in the
Park?
old days. I don't know, but you're not taking like a group, you don't have family, you're not doing any of that.
40. That's the difference there. 40,000 times 97.
You're
right?
going to the
Whereas you can
football,
get
right? And your
63.
kids are eating beans on toast for the rest of the month. That's how it is.
Exactly.
That's what's going on.
And noodles, right?
What noodle, mate?
Rabbit
You know what I mean?
noodles.
What do you want? Chicken and mushroom or beef and tomato? It's up to you. I can mix them
Canned
together.
Canned soup and put the rest of the can back in the refrigerator for tomorrow.
Would you like my tuna surprise? Well, it depends on what's the surprise. There's no fucking tuna in it.
Losing Ipswich was hard to swallow when we were the favourites indeed. Win against Man United was my favourite win in '79. I think you're talking about. I hated United. Most of my classmates were United fans. That's the thing.
I in London, I know.
Yeah, '89 team was up
Fucking
against the
Beckham.
Liverpool team that were constant winners. Yeah, indeed. Won't happen, Stan. Manchidi will get beaten. Yeah, I think we're saying that the amount of games the teams have to play, it's so difficult now. Look, Arsenal drew 12 of those games when they were invincible, but they weren't beaten. That's the thing. You could be invincible if you draw 38 games. You could be invincible too.
I think Forest did it, didn't they? Did Forest do it? Before us?
No, Preston North End are the only other team I believe that have done it.
Okay.
And that was like over a century ago. I think 1898,
It
something like
doesn't
that.
count. It never happened. Do you know what I
It
mean?
never
It's like picks. Oh, it didn't happen.
Oh my god! Listen, I think we got ourselves sidetracked, but in a very, very, very good way. I really
It's
enjoyed.
good to go down memory lane. Do you know what I mean? And Lawrence
Once in
is
a while.
like Lawrence has been there a lot longer.
He's the guru. Yeah,
There you go.
he
He's
knows.
gone.
I was
gone.
able to supply a
He's
little
been there a
bit.
lot longer.
All right. Okay, Lawrence, you logged off. I hope he's feeling okay. But there you go. We'll finish it out then, Stan. But yeah, it is good to jog down memory lane once in a while.
Yeah.
Lawrence was able to. We showed our ages a little bit. We've revealed our ages, our requisite timelines, and when we started supporting the team we love now. You know what I mean? And the reason, I know the reason why you started
I
supporting.
was
Arsenal.
10 or 11. I was a bit late. I wasn't like 8 or 9. I was like 10 or 11. The first football kit that I ever got bought for me, I remember opening my Christmas presents one day and I had like a fucking Chelsea football kit. I never said I supported them. Maybe my parents thought, because I think it was like, you know, like you go to school in the PE kit. And I never sort of like said anything. And I got a Chelsea fucking kit. I was like maybe 6. And it was one of them itchy Umbro things. It was like wearing a fucking prisoner outfit. Itchy. It's like wearing a fucking potato sack. Really itchy. hated it. But it was, 10, 11 years old, 1979, when I went to that Crystal Palace game.
Crystal Palace.
Took me Crystal Palace Newcastle to get me to Newcastle, and I weren't interested. And it took me again to Crystal Palace Arsenal. I paid attention, and I came away. I said, "What you doing?"
Yeah, we might do something crazy, a little segment in some of the shows moving forward. We don't really do this enough for the time going down memory lane.
Something else that tickled me today when I was looking up Martinelli about his squad number. I was like, really? Is that a thing? And I was looking at Martinelli, and it came up how much we paid for Martinelli. We paid £7.5 million for Gabriel Martinelli. Yeah. And that's exactly the amount of money that we paid for Dennis Bergkamp.
Yep. Yeah.
But it just shows you, inflation, and obviously, but you know what I mean? And that was a big deal. That was big money back then. Like, big money. Like £7.5 million. That was big dough. That was like, fuck. It was like usually the fee was you'd see fees of about maybe 4.6 million, 4.5 million. Do you know what I mean? That was kind of like the figure.
Keane was about 4 million to
something
United.
Like that, right? So when we signed Dennis Bergkamp for 7.5 million, that was maybe the equivalent of signing a player for like today, of signing like an Anthony for 80 million. It's big money, 80 million for a player. What are they going to do?
I remember someone saying it's getting so that we'll have a £100 million player soon. I think Jack Grealish was the first one.
Right? Well, Declan cost more than that.
Yeah, and we got one now. Yeah,
Caicedo cost even more than that. Was he 115?
115 or 125, something like that. It's crazy. I mean, I don't.
At some point, right? At some point, I would imagine that a player like William Saliba, being at the tender age that he is, at some point is going to leave Arsenal. I don't know when, and I hope it never happens. You've probably got more in the bank of someone like Saka staying because he's from the area, right? He's been, he's from the team. So there's, like a Tony Adams, there's more chance of a Tony Adams staying. But someone like a Saliba, who's come from another country, do you know what I'm getting at? At some point, maybe a player thinks it's time. When he does, but what I'm saying is that when that day happens, eventually, which I think at one time it will happen.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how much money we're going to get for that guy?
Yeah.
It's going to be an obscene amount. It's going to be an obscene amount of money.
If we can sell, properly.
I hear people referring to William Saliba, and not just Arsenal people, that they're saying that he's in the top 3 at least. They're saying that he's either the best defender in the world. If he's not the best central defender in the world, he's in the top 3.
Yeah,
I would probably say that Rudiger, maybe. I would say maybe someone like Rudiger could give him a run for his money. Maybe. I think Rudiger's a very good defender, but he's really, for his age, his elevation and the way he's spoken about. So at some point, he will leave. And the amount of money that we will get for him is going to be stupid.
That's what makes you.
That's what makes.
Yeah, and look, hopefully he leaves in 3 or 4 seasons from now at most, and maybe even he stays at Arsenal longer. But that's what makes it maddening for Arsenal fans that we don't seem to invest in a type of a Saliba or Saka and make it more certain. We didn't make it more certain in this window that we can go and win something. There's not that certainty. We're sitting here in the hope that we're going to have, on our tender hooks watching games.
You raise a good point. You raise a very good point because I've said that I feel that as good as we are, I don't think that we've done enough to win the league this season, unfortunately. I think there was a couple of things that we should have done. I hope I'm proved wrong. But my worry is that if I feel like that as an outsider, do key players in the team feel the same? Are key players in the team looking around and thinking, well, we finished second in the last 2 seasons. I really wanted to have, do they believe that they've got enough to come first? Because if they don't believe that, then that means that they're not going to play to their best. And if we don't do it this season, could some players go, well, look, I had 3 shots at it here. I gave you 3 chances.
Yeah.
I'm going to go there now. I'm going to go to this place now
Let's,
because I want to do something else. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Let's approach this from I'm Bukayo Saka, right?
And as Tiger and Guna says, and I see what he's saying, Saliba won't be a Jamie Vardy. You know, he's not ingrained with. You know what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
Saka maybe, because Saka's come from Hale End, right? You know, maybe Saka has, you know, like a Tony Adams, but you know, Saliba.
He won't want to be a one.
We've only got him for a window, I believe, and the Megalinks. I think Megalinks only got him for a window.
So let me answer you. Let me answer your question. If I'm Bukayo Saka and I'm looking around, there's 2 things I'm thinking. Can we score more goals to win the league? Can we be more certain to win the league? If I'm Bukayo Saka, I'm saying I'm happy we got Calafiori. I'm happy we've nailed down David Raya. I'm happy this Mikel Merino looks good, albeit being injured. And the second hand, I'm looking at Kai Havertz and I'm saying, maybe I believe in you, Kai, that you can score more goals than last season. You know, you have to have that belief in your teammates as well, the ones that have been there last season as well. Martinelli, I train with you every week. I see what you can do on the field when you're training. You just need to translate that. Or are you Bukayo Saka and say, well, we didn't go and get Osimhen or Gyökeres or Ivan Toney. You know what I mean? But I think if I'm Bukayo Saka, I believe in what the manager's doing. I believe in the quote-unquote process, and I believe we're going to get better next season.
But what
Saka
about those,
would be the forward
those players that aren't from things like they're not even from England, right?
Okay, so that's Bukayo Saka, who's a Londoner, right? Yeah. Now you go.
It's no different. Like, you know, it's no different to in those cases when I say players that aren't from England. It's no different that if you work at Barclays Bank,
sure,
and then you get an email from another bank, I don't know, Bank Santander or ABN AMRO, and they say, "Come and work for us," and you know, it's a job at the end of the day. Sure. It's a lot different to players that aren't from the area or haven't. But do you know what I'm getting at? There's not that much.
So let's look at the central defenders.
There's not as much loyalty.
Let's look at the central defenders. Tiger and Gunnar rightly said Saliba won't be a Jamie Vardy. He's probably not got that attachment.
I'll be right back. I need to go for a quick toilet.
Yeah, go for it.
I can't believe
I think I'll keep talking to the chat here and get through a few of the comments as well. I feel like Gabriel Magalhaes will be that player who will be likely to stay at Arsenal for a number of years. You know, be that one club player. Although, you know, we could see him moving as well. William Saliba, I think he's starting to feel part of the club as well and feel ingrained with the club and be part of Arsenal. So yes, likely to stay at Arsenal for 2 or 3 more seasons, but he's one of those players you would probably think to yourself, we need to win some trophies in order to make him feel like Arsenal is the place where he can realize his dreams. And when Stan comes back, I'll pose something to him. Is it beyond the realms of possibility that in a year or 2 from now, Arsenal have gotten another striker, another window, another striker, improved our midfield further, and insulated ourselves against injuries, that we could be the best team in England? Man City is Man City. They do what they do, but they could be reprimanded for what they've been doing. They could get deductions. They could get expelled from the league. But also, naturally, they could come to the end of their cycle as well. Man City could be that team that fades away. It's not beyond the realms of possibility, Stan, that in a season or 2 from now, Arsenal could be the best team in the land. And looking around Europe, there's only really one team that wins the Champions League. They just have to enter the competition to win the Champions League, it seems, Real Madrid. And you have to ask yourself, could you beat Real Madrid on a one-off game? I think we could. like Liverpool have tried to do. Liverpool beat Tottenham. They didn't beat Madrid, but if you stay in the competition long enough and you participate, we got to quarterfinals last season. And can we now get to a semifinal, break that barrier, get to a semifinal, get to a final again, get back to where we were in 2006, get back to that position where we were, and we're 15 minutes away from winning it again. You know what I mean? And we can lean on the likes of Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes, White, Timber, Calafiori. You know, we have those players that could play in the Champions League final and could give us a clean sheet at the end of the day as well.
I'm fairly confident that we have a goalkeeper and defensive unit that can go up against any team. Any team.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure about the midfield and attack because of the depth. That's my biggest fear.
Yeah. But
I don't think we're quite there yet.
Imagine another window, another season or two where we've established dominance over Man City. Yeah, I'm asking you to imagine a lot, right? Pep Guardiola's moved on. Man City's not the team they used to be, and teams coming. We're believers of teams in cycles. Your cycle comes around. Our orbit is coming back. I believe we've been
Man United.
far away.
If there is like a wheel, Man United are at number 6. They're at 6 o'clock right now, whereas the hands for Arsenal, we're like a couple of minutes to 12, which is where you want to be. Like a couple of minutes to 12. Man City's at 12 o'clock. We're a couple of minutes to 12.
Yeah.
Man
what
United,
I'd like to
mate,
say is like
6 o'clock.
We've been far away from the sun, and our orbit is coming back toward the sun. You know, and the sun is the thing that gives you trophies. I believe gives you life. You know what I mean? Our fan base has this discussion. We had it recently. Are you having a good season just to have a good season, or are you having a good season to win a trophy?
But there's a lot of fans there's a lot of fans that have voiced that this season is shit or bust for Mikel Arteta. If we don't win anything this season, or primarily the league, I'm not even sure that they're including cups. They want him gone. It's shit or bust.
Yep.
I've seen a lot of people say that. I'm not in that camp personally, but there's a lot of people that believe that. No, if he doesn't do it this season, he's got to go.
Well, we talked about Alex Ferguson a lot tonight, and took him 5, 6, 7 seasons to win the Premier League, and that was the holy grail for them. I think they went 26 years without winning. It was 66, right?
Yeah.
When they won, they last won the championship. It was 26 years they were winning. I remember when they won the league in 92, I think it was. And the celebrations jumping. Maybe Blackburn won in 92, but they won it in 93 or 94, something like that. Alex Ferguson was around 7 or 8 seasons. So, you know, it's not that easy to do it. You can't just, especially the profile of manager Mikel Arteta is he's had to learn a lot in 4 or 5 years already. And there's a lot of
people out there that would listen to this and say that we're making excuses. There are people that feel that way. Yeah. I'm just saying. There are people that say that, oh, you're talking about another window. Oh, no, he's had his chance. You know what I mean? He's had all this, you know, they'll give you the figure of the money, you know, blah, blah, blah. And that's their opinion. I'm not going to say that they're wrong. I just say that my opinion is different.
We've moved into an era of, again, instant gratification. If it's not working, tear it up. We have some clubs in the Premier League that do this. It's not working, tear it up, start all over again, bring in a new manager, be ruthless, get rid of your manager and bring another one in. First of all, I think we mentioned there's not a lot of good managers out there.
No.
There's not a lot of high quality.
Great. Excellent. You know what I mean?
Graham Trotter.
Why would you do that? Doughboy. Why would you do that?
I love
bring in Pochettino.
Yeah.
No.
They should have done like what's the thing
Tommy Tickle.
with Sudeikis? What's this Jason Sudeikis thing? They should have done that with Del Boy. They should have done that with Del Boy.
Ted Lasso.
In a Harry Bassett sort of way, or Dave Bassett sort of way.
Mike Bassett, even.
But yeah, there's been some characters down through the league as well. What was his name? The Wimbledon guy. Who was the manager of Wimbledon way back?
Oh, was it
Greg Kinnear?
Greg Kinnear.
Joe Kinnear, not Greg Kinnear. Joe Kinnear.
Joe Kinnear, yeah.
Name an actress again.
I always used to get him mixed up with Barry Fry. Remember Barry Fry?
Man, there's been some characters down through the leagues.
Gould.
Ron Atkinson, even. Jesus Christ.
Have you ever, there's a really funny documentary on. It was not a documentary; it was a TV show. It was what was it? It was Barry Fry. What was the team? And they called in Ron Atkinson to try and be like the troubleshooter and help the manager and pick this team up. It's brilliant. So you got Ron Atkinson in there, and you got Barry Fry, who's the owner. You know what I mean? And then on camera, and then on camera, the manager comes in one episode. The manager comes in, and just quits in front of everybody. And so Barry Fry decides, right, I'll be the manager. It's quite funny. Yeah,
it's crazy. But yeah, listen, I think our cycle has to come back around, and everybody waits for Real Madrid to not be that team, but they are the legacy team that seem to do well and attract players. You know, players want to go to Real Madrid. They want to go to Barcelona. And as long as Real Madrid run themselves correctly, which they have done for decades and decades, right?
Players, and then they can't get registered like Dani Olmo.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
or
you don't get paid, or payments are deferred like Frankie de Jong, and then it gets all messy. I don't think Barcelona actually is much of a beacon as it used to be for players.
Exactly.
Because you know what I mean?
That is the example of a team being run incorrectly versus Real Madrid, a team year after year after year. They have this, they say DNA, right, of winning. Arsenal need to create that DNA.
Actually, I think maybe Olmo's been able to get registered now because they sold a young player. But I mean, it's a shambles when you're in that situation, right?
Yeah.
A team like Barcelona.
Tiger and Gunnar said it's the history of Arsenal, which we have not. We don't have like Chelsea and Man City. Yeah, we have a history. They don't. You know what I mean? Our history is one of winning things. We need to get back to that, though. We need to get back to the demanding. Okay, we don't want to be that supporter, but we do want to see our teams. And look, I'm not going to call for like you said earlier. I'm not going to call for Mikel Arteta's head if we don't win the Premier League. But it's like you said, it's about the manner of how our season.
Yeah. Of course it is. You know, if you see a regression, you know what I mean? If you're like scrapping for fourth place, you're gonna be, hold on a minute, what's going on here?
Good. Yeah, losing every third game, something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Preston played one game a week and only 26 games a season, but still invincibles. You know what I mean? What bothers me is people complaining about City. No one talks about the fact Todd Bowley dobbed Chelsea's previous ownership for cooking the Bucks. Yeah. Hey, I don't really care about Chelsea. I feel like they're going to be good enough to challenge for fourth place, but that's the extent of where Chelsea's going to be this season. And their manager could be the first one to get sacked in the top six. Chelsea's previous UEFA Champions League were tainted.
Surely.
Shouldn't be counted. What?
Eric Ten Hag, man. Oh yeah, come on. Have you not seen the post-match interviews yet?
But the thing about that, Stan, is the ownership are pushed into a corner now, where they've made the decision to stick by him. They can't.
There was no one else.
They can't change.
They literally went out and spoke to everybody. They spoke to my nan. She got a call. They spoke to everybody, And it was like, oh, okay, we'll stick with you then. That's not really a vote of confidence. He spoke to everybody in town.
Yeah.
He spoke to everyone in town. And you
Real
know
Madrid.
so what are you speaking to the people?
Yeah. It'll definitely be interesting for Man United. And I don't see them winning.
Let me answer that. Of course, Real Madrid. Why wouldn't they? He's one of the best defenders in the world. There's probably a lot of teams that are eyeing him up. And that's like say it should be.
Stan,
that's what you want. Because they're eyeing him up. If we do our job properly and keep them in ironclad contracts, they can continue to eye him up.
Do you remember 20 years ago when, you know, every summer we hold our breath because somebody would come for Vieira or Henry or Perez, you know what I mean? And as long as you're winning things, players may want to stay in London, you know what I mean? But yeah, they can. We're probably going to have to brace ourselves next summer for a Saliba bid or a Bukayo Saka bid. You know what I mean? That's why every Arsenal fan and ourselves believe we need to put our best foot forward to win things. It doesn't have to be the Premier League.
Again, that's why I say it's so important that we should be in that phase now of, you know, if a player has seen that, if you're in that squad and you've seen us come the last 2 seasons second, and in this season you just about finished third, fourth, then maybe you're thinking to yourself, well, that's the best that I'm going to get here. Yeah.
Do you know what's crazy?
Maybe a player leaves. A player's open then to leaving because it's. Do you want to sign a new contract? No, I'm good. I mean, maybe sell me now or run it down because we're not going to get. These are the things that you got to think about, right?
If I leave you and everyone else with one thing to think about this. This might be the best thing I say all night. Okay, so be prepared, right?
Okay.
A few years ago, we were singing "Gold" by Spandau Ballet for Zinchenko and Jesus. That's gone. Last year, we were singing "Timber." For Urian Timber. This year, we're talking about 4 players who were nominated for the Ballon d'Or that are Arsenal players. Do you see the levels that we've gone up to, from Zinchenko and Jesus to Rice, Odegaard, Saka, and Saliba?
Even before Zinchenko and Jesus, you could say Tierney. There was a time when people was like, "Why is he not the captain?"
Yeah,
we love Tierney. Look at him. Yep. Look at him in the Baltic weathers, wearing next to nothing with his Tesco's bag, and you know the personality that he was. People want him to be captain.
Scoring goals.
We've outgrown him. Happens.
Yeah.
I think. So. I think that we've probably outgrown Jesus. I'd be surprised if Jesus is here the following season.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Shouldn't
exactly.
Be. And Zinchenko.
So if anybody
should be replaced.
If anybody challenges you about Arsenal, just tell them the progress that I've just outlined there. We all know it. We've all seen it. We've all lived through the last 3 or 4 years. But now we're getting to that time of phase 5 or whatever phase it is to start winning trophies. You know what I mean? And a lot of that has to do with the cup competitions that we're talking about tonight as well. You know what I mean? Stan, if we get stupid money, Kroenke is pocketing it. I wouldn't be expecting Kroenke to give that money to the club if I were you. Listen, every sustaining model, everything leads towards winning games in the Premier League and the Champions League. You brought the money value, Stan, to what we got coming second in the Premier League, what we got for a quarterfinal berth against Bayern Munich. That's money coming into Stan Kroenke
and the sales. Around 100 million in sales.
Yeah. So winning solves a lot of issues. And we see some clubs that are not winning that are, okay, we didn't get the best result last week and we have to sit on a draw. But we weren't Man United. We didn't lose 3-0 to Liverpool. You know what I mean?
If we do have money sloshing about, but we couldn't find the right player at the right time, I'd much rather they bring in the Raheem Sterling with no obligation to buy, no loan fee, and a fraction of his salary, rather than panicking and bringing in Sterling on a loan with an option to buy and paying fucking 15 million for the loan fee and paying 3/4 of his wages, then I'd be like, what the fuck is going on?
We came to the table with.
There's a difference there. We could have gone that route. That could have been what would have happened, and that
We
would have
came to
been
the table with
a
Chelsea.
harder apple to eat.
Yeah. We came to the table with Chelsea and walked away smiling. You know when you're walking out of a room and you know you've got the better end of that deal by 2-to-1 ratio, probably. That's what
Well,
happened.
everybody knows if you're going to do a deal with Chelsea, now is the best time, right?
Yeah, they have about 50 players they want to get rid of. I don't think Osimhen's all that. Only one season scored over 20, and that's in the Italian league. But the Italian league is the toughest, they say, right? Mega Legs will leave if it's Madrid, Barca, else he probably stays at Arsenal forever. We'll do about another 10 minutes, right, Stan? Whatever you're good for. How's your back?
Got to put a pizza on in a minute.
Huh?
Got to put a pizza on.
Don't burn it like last time. Oh,
No,
are you on your own again?
No, she's out somewhere.
All right, we'll leave it. We'll wrap this up pretty soon. I want Saliba to stay for the rest of his career at Arsenal, but history tells us that we lose our best players. That's why I'm saying, Tiger, there's a scenario where we get better. We become the best team in England and challenge the best teams in Europe. It can happen. We have to have a window of 4 or 5 years. It's got to happen. Imagine getting Tottenham in the Champions League final. That has to be the easiest draw you can get. Only happens to Liverpool. Newcastle beat Madrid last year, and look what happened to them. Yeah, they faded away. If we get Erling Haaland, I think we win both the Premier League and the Champions League double.
Yeah.
He is that cheat code, isn't he?
And we get Mbappe as a super sub. If you're going to go for it, go for it.
Football manager stuff, right? And the entitlement mentality is what annoys me about Arsenal fans. Try supporting a lower league team as you won't be disappointed as much. Yeah, I think there's level, as Gary says, there's levels to this. You know, we are Arsenal fans. We're in the mix.
You know what?
We weren't feeling entitlement. We weren't feeling entitlement 5 or 6 years ago.
You know why a lot of Arsenal fans feel entitled? I think this is something that I've thought about for quite some time now. If you support a football team and you watch your football team go a whole season without losing a game, surely you have high expectations for the following season.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's destroyed a lot of Arsenal fans. To see their team go invincible and not build on that platform, not use it as a springboard for even greater things outside of the league. And as I've mentioned before, it's a very good team that wins the league, but it's a great team that wins the league and retains it the following year. So I kind of get some Arsenal fans that may have come into supporting Arsenal maybe a few years before the Invincibles, right? Maybe 5 years before they see their team go invincible. So a short space of time, 3 years maybe. All of a sudden, they see their team go invincible, and they're being told by the club, you know, you've got people like Ivan Gazidis saying, like, we will excite you. Remember that? We will excite you. That fucking old speech he gave. And then you see everything get stripped away. So I understand that sense of entitlement, because when you get to the top of the mountain, you want to stay there or build on that. And basically, you got to the top of the mountain, you just like nosedive.
Yeah. Imagine you're an Arsenal fan who started supporting Arsenal in '98, and you had those 7 years of fighting with Man United, beating them, losing some, winning some, but you got 3 league titles in 6 years, right? And then, as you say, you drop off after 2004. The drop off happens, and it was a good team to get to the Champions League final, no doubt, and the team was on fumes to beat Man United in the FA Cup on penalties. But then Wenger starts breaking the team up to fund the move to the stadium. And we have the media loved talking about this 9-year drought.
And then at the same time, you have Roman Abramovich coming into Chelsea and really being a disruptor in the way that business was done, right? That's what he did. He disrupted that space, that transfer space. Things were done different, and you actually saw, I felt, rivals like Arsene Wenger and Sir Alex Ferguson almost put their arms around each other, and say, "Hold on a minute, I know that me and this guy were rivals, but what the fuck is all this new shit? We don't like it."
It wasn't an equal. Was not an equal friendship because they sold players to each other, but we didn't get the better end of the deal. We got Michael Silvestre.
Yeah.
Remember that shit? You know. So yeah, Brownie, as Stan said, it's important. The window of your supporting Arsenal, when you started supporting them, and it's very important. Stan and I supported Arsenal in, I don't know, 80s, right? You were probably before the 80s.
79, as I
79. So
it was the second to last season for Liam Brady. That was 79.
You and I have a bigger case study, a bigger sample size. You know what I mean? That's the situation. I started supporting Cardiff when they were 91st and 92 teams. It's affected my mental health over the years. I sometimes wonder why we do that to ourselves as fans as well. You care so much. When we were in 8th place, it was like we were probably 91st out of 92. We were losing 14 games in the season as well. And I know it's not the 91st out of 92, but it felt like that. So listen, we'll get out of here, Stan. Want to round up the last 4 games real quick. It's going to be Monaco at home, Dynamo Zagreb at home. So that's 2 games we should pick up points again in. And then we finish with Girona away from home. And, of course, we have Gyökeres in the 5th game. So, yeah, these league games won't finish till the end of January. And then we'll go into the playoffs. So,
and it's it's the same for everybody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The same for everybody else. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it shakes out and how it affects the league.
There's going to be a decent amount of jostling. Do you know what I mean?
Teams that don't have Europe, or teams that may be in the European, not even the Europa League, but the Europa Conference. I don't know. Is it going to help them because they'll be like, well, we ain't going to field our best teams in the Europa Conference. We'll save them.
Do
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it, that Chelsea are in that Europa Conference League. They didn't register Cole Palmer for that squad.
Strange, right?
Obviously, there's another chance, right? You have two places to register. You play the early stuff, and then you have another opportunity to change the squad. Yeah, they could change it then, but you know they're being clever.
Okay.
Whereas someone like Arsenal, you know, we can't afford to dick around like that because the Champions League. We care about that. It's not like it's the Europa Conference. You know what I mean? We care about that.
Yeah. And when you look at the Champions League, we're going to get out of here in a couple of minutes. There is. Tony's not here to tell Saliba was always going to be signed for Arsenal. You know, always going to play for Arsenal. Well, what do you think about it?
I was going to say, Tony's not here to tell my missus to keep her beak out of it.
Did he say that?
No, he gets all shy, doesn't he, when she just comes in?
Yeah, he does. He does.
Shy.
Yeah, so listen, the top 8 could be Man City, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Inter Milan, but we hope we're in the 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th spots when it comes to the end of
anybody.
January. Exactly. Listen, we'll leave it there. Where's all the gang today? They're all gone on the Interlull lullabouts. So Lawrence wasn't feeling so good. Lawrence was here earlier. Stan's here, been here the whole time. Hope you get some treatment for your back, Stan. You feel better. And
Thank you.
We're going to take the Sunday show off. There'll be no Sunday show. We'll be back here next Thursday talking about the North London Derby. And if you haven't heard from Lawrence before, there is a Champions League game on Thursdays for Arsenal. It's the first game out of the bat. So, yeah, listen, Stan, take care of yourself, okay? And take care of your back.
Thanks,
yeah, it was good.
Thanks everyone for coming in. Tiger and Guna. Adam was in there. Football with Brownie. Hang on, trying to scroll. Not working.
Yeah, it was a ton.
Tiger
There
and
was a
Duna
ton
was in
of
there. Red John was in there as well. So a big thank you to everyone that comes in. And again, we keep
John.
noticing, man, that we're getting
Nick
a lot of
Badley.
we're getting a lot of views on the replay. So remember to like and share and draw more people in to come and listen
Does
to
help.
the chat.
Yeah, it does help.
It does help. So thank you to everybody.
What I would say, Stan, and you've already said it well enough, is that we have a great community here. Let's drag one or two more people in to join the group. You know what I mean?
Screaming.
Kicking and screaming, whether they like it or not.
Yeah.
Listen, Stan, you go get your pizza, okay, and take care of your back, and we'll see you next Thursday, okay?
All right.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. Slap a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and we're out of here. Thanks, Stan. Take care.